Babies don't belong in boardrooms, my father declared, sliding the termination papers across his mahogany desk. Morrison Logistics needs leaders who can commit fully, not mothers distracted by diapers and daycare. I stared at the man who'd raised me, who'd taught me everything about business, who'd groomed me to take over the family company since I was 12. I'm 3 months pregnant, Dad, not dying. Same difference in this industry, my brother Connor added from his corner chair, smirking. Can't have our VP of operations waddling into client meetings, leaving early for prenatal appointments. It's unprofessional. Unprofessional? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. I brought in 60% of our revenue. I landed the Yamamoto account, the Chen Group, which is why we're offering a generous severance. My stepmother Diane interrupted, perfectly manicured nails tapping on her iPad. 6 months salary, continued health insurance through delivery. It's more than fair. Fair would be maternity leave, like every other company in the developed world offers. We're not every other company, Dad said firmly. We're Morrison Logistics. We've maintained our edge by demanding absolute dedication. You chose pregnancy over your career, that's your right. This is mine. I looked around the boardroom where I'd spent countless hours, at the growth charts I'd personally pushed into record territory, at the family photos on the wall that would soon exclude me. The Rothwell contract, I said quietly, that's my baby. I negotiated every detail, every route, every percentage point. You're really going to hand my largest account to Connor? Connor straightened his tie, the same tie I'd bought him for Christmas. I'll take excellent care of it. All your accounts. Actually, don't worry, I'll send flowers when the baby arrives. How thoughtful. I signed the papers with steady hands, though inside I was raging. And the non-compete clause? Standard, Diane said. 2 years. Can't have you running to competitors with our client list. Of course not. I stood, placing a protective hand over my still flat stomach. Well, gentlemen, Diane, it's been educational. Emma, Dad's voice softened slightly. This isn't personal, it's business. No, Dad, firing your daughter for getting pregnant? That's about as personal as it gets. I walked out of Morrison Logistics for the last time. 20 years of dedication boxed up and waiting by my car. Security watched me load it like I was a criminal, not the woman who transformed this company from regional to international. That night, my husband Marcus held me while I cried angry tears. They can't do this, he said. It's discrimination. We'll sue. No, I wiped my eyes. Lawsuits take years. Revenge takes planning. Revenge? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Morrison Logistics just fired their VP of operations. They think Connor can handle my accounts. Let's see if my accounts agree. The first call was to Kenji Yamamoto in Tokyo. It was early morning there, but he answered immediately. Emma-san, I hope you're calling with good news about the expansion proposal. Actually, Kenji, I'm calling with different news. Morrison Logistics terminated me today. Silence. Then, terminated? But you are Morrison Logistics. Your father decided babies don't belong in boardrooms. They'll be assigning Connor to your account. Connor? His tone could have frozen hell. The one who fell asleep during our quarterly review? Who called Osaka basically Tokyo? That's him. I see. And where will you be working now? I'm exploring options. The non-compete prevents me from working for competitors, but not from starting your own company. Kenji's voice warmed. Emma-san, Yamamoto Industries values loyalty. More importantly, we value competence. If you start your own firm, we would be interested in discussing transitioning our business. My heart raced. Kenji, that's a $50 million annual contract. Yes, and worth every yen when handled by someone who understands our needs. Someone who doesn't think Osaka is basically Tokyo. I'll need some time to establish. Take your time. Our contract with Morrison renews in 90 days. What a convenient coincidence. After we hung up, I sat in stunned silence. Marcus watched me carefully. Yamamoto's willing to jump ship. That's our biggest account. Your biggest account, he corrected. Morrison Logistics just lost it. They just don't know it yet. The next morning, I filed the paperwork for Chen Logistics International. The non-compete banned me from working for competitors, not from competing directly. Dad's lawyers had been so worried about me taking insider knowledge to other firms, they'd never considered I'd start my own. While my former family celebrated my departure with what Connor called a freedom from estrogen party, classy, I was building business license, insurance, certifications, everything needed to operate in international logistics. My phone rang. Lisa Chen from the Chen Group. Emma, I just heard from Connor Morrison that you're no longer with the company? That's correct. They felt pregnancy was incompatible with executive performance. What? Lisa's voice went deadly quiet. They fired you for being pregnant? Babies don't belong in boardrooms, apparently. I see. Well, boardrooms belong wherever competent leaders are. When you're ready to talk business, your business, the Chen Group would like to discuss our logistics needs. All $40 million worth. 2 calls. 2 major clients ready to follow me. 90 million in potential contracts. And I hadn't even registered my business name yet. Connor texted that afternoon. Hope you're enjoying mat leave already. Don't worry, your clients are in good hands. Had a great call with Yamamoto. Didn't even need a translator. I screenshot the message. Kenji would love that. He spoke perfect English and only used Japanese to test if Morrison reps had bothered learning basics. Connor had just failed spectacularly. By week 2, Chen Logistics International had an office, small but professional. I hired 2 employees, fired Morrison Logistics workers who'd been let go for budget constraints despite record profits. They brought knowledge, anger, and most importantly, client contacts. You know, Sarah, my new operations manager, mentioned casually, the Hoffman Group's contract is up for renewal next month. They were always asking for you specifically. The Hoffman Group, 15 million annually, conservative Germans who valued precision and relationships above all. I couldn't possibly poach for Morrison, I said with mock innocence. That would be unethical. Of course not, Sarah agreed, but if they happened to Google logistics companies and found yours. My website went live that afternoon, professional, clean, emphasizing personal service and attention to detail, everything Morrison had stopped providing when they got too big to care. Week 3 brought the call I'd been expecting. Dad. Emma, what the hell are you doing? Building a nursery, nesting, I think they call it, very maternal. Don't be cute. Yamamoto's asking about contract renewals, says they want to explore options. That's your doing. Dad, you made it clear I don't work for Morrison anymore. What clients do isn't my concern. The hell it isn't. You signed a non-compete, which prevents me from working for competitors. I'm not working for anyone. I'm working for myself. That's not what it meant. Then you should have hired better lawyers, ones who don't think pregnancy is a fireable offense. It wasn't about pregnancy, it was about commitment. My commitment built 60% of your revenue, but sure, tell yourself it was about dedication. He hung up. 20 minutes later, Diane called. Emma, sweetness, let's discuss this rationally. Hormones can make us do impulsive things. I hung up and blocked her number. Week 4 brought Connor to my door. My assistant, yes, I already had an assistant, didn't let him past reception. Tell her it's urgent. I heard him shouting. Yamamoto's threatening to cancel. I waddled out. Yes, waddled. Amazing how pregnancy advances when you're stress building a company. Connor, what a surprise. Cut the crap. Emma, you're stealing our clients. I'm sitting in my office, growing a human. If clients choose to call me, that's their choice. Yamamoto says you're offering better rates. I'm not offering anything, but hypothetically, a smaller company would have lower overhead, no executive golf memberships, no corporate jets, no freedom from estrogen parties that cost 20 grand in champagne. His face went red. You heard about that? Sarah has photos. Open bar leads to loose lips. This is war. Emma, we'll bury you. With what? The client relationships I built? The systems I designed? The reputation I created? Good luck, little brother. You'll need it. He stormed out. That afternoon, 3 more clients called. Word was spreading. Month 2 brought the Chen Group's signature. 40 million moved from Morrison to Chen Logistics. My father called 18 times. I was in a prenatal appointment for all of them. The Hoffman Group followed, then Yamamoto, as promised. By month 3, I was handling $120 million in annual contracts with a staff of 12. Morrison Logistics' quarterly report was brutal. Stock dropped 30%. They'd lost half their international revenue in 90 days. How? The business journals asked. How does an established company hemorrhage clients so quickly? The answer was simple. They'd fired the person who was the company. My favorite moment came during month 4. I was meeting with a potential client, massive automotive parts manufacturer, when Connor burst into the restaurant. You can't do this. He looked haggard. Tai Askew, Rodriguez Automotive is our client. Was, Mr. Rodriguez corrected coldly, was your client, until you missed 3 shipments and blamed typhoon season. In January. That was a miscommunication. That was incompetence. Rodriguez cut him off. Emma warned us about weather patterns 6 months in advance. You couldn't even check a calendar. Security removed Connor while he screamed about lawsuits and family loyalty. Rodriguez signed with me over dessert. Month 5 brought my favorite visitor, Dad, standing in my now expanded office, looking at my wall of client certifications. You did this to hurt me, he said quietly. I did this because you left me no choice. I shifted in my ergonomic chair, 8 months pregnant and still working. From my own company, you fired me for getting pregnant. I fired you for losing focus. My focus built your empire. My focus landed every major account you had. He repeated the word like ash in his mouth. We're facing bankruptcy, Emma, your mother's company. Diane isn't my mother, and it stopped being a family company the day you chose misogyny over merit. What will it take to get the clients back? I laughed, actually laughed. They're not mine to give, Dad. They chose to follow competence, not chromosomes. Maybe Connor can win them back. How's his Japanese? You know he doesn't speak. He stopped, shoulders sagging. This is what you wanted, to destroy us. No, I wanted maternity leave. I wanted to raise my daughter while continuing to excel at my job. You decided that was impossible, so I made it possible on my own terms. Your daughter? His voice cracked slightly. Due next month. I'm naming her Morgan, after Mom, the one who would have been ashamed of what you became. He left without another word. Morrison Logistics filed for bankruptcy 2 weeks later. The best part? My water broke during a video conference with Yamamoto. Kenji-san was delighted, insisting it was good luck. We finished the contract negotiation between contractions. My daughter was born 12 hours later. Chin Logistics sent out birth announcements with our quarterly reports. Every client sent gifts and congratulations. Connor texted, "Hope you're happy, Dad selling the house." I responded with a photo of Morgan in a onesie that read Future CEO and my company's latest valuation, $150 million in annual contracts. Babies don't belong in boardrooms, I captioned it, so I built my own. Diane tried one last manipulation, showing up at my house with a gift basket. Surely now that you've made your point, we can discuss a merger. Morrison Logistics infrastructure with your client base. Morrison Logistics doesn't exist anymore, I reminded her, and Chin Logistics doesn't merge with failed philosophies. Your father made a mistake. No, he made a choice, chose to see pregnancy as weakness instead of strength, chose to value chromosomes over competence, chose Connor's ego over Emma's achievements. Family forgives, she tried. Family supports, I countered. You fired family. I just returned the favor. Morgan started crying, hungry, not upset. I fed her right there, in front of Diane, who looked scandalized. Babies don't belong in boardrooms, I said, burping my daughter. Good thing this is my living room, in my house, bought with my company's profits. She left the gift basket. I donated it to a shelter for pregnant women fired from their jobs. Seemed appropriate. Today, Chin Logistics International handles $200 million in annual contracts. We have 40 employees, comprehensive maternity and paternity leave, and an on-site nursery. The best employee? Connor, who applied last month. I hired him, entry level. He reports to Sarah, who takes great pleasure in teaching him basics like Osaka isn't basically Tokyo. He's learning humility, and Japanese. Dad wrote once, asking if I'd consider buying Morrison's old office building. It was being sold for taxes. I bought it, turned it into affordable housing for single mothers. The sign out front reads, the Morrison Center for Working Mothers, because babies belong wherever their mothers succeed. Petty? Maybe, but when you're fired for being pregnant, you earn the right to be a little petty, especially when that pettiness comes with a $200 million valuation and a daughter who'll never be told she doesn't belong somewhere because of her gender. Babies don't belong in boardrooms? Fine, we'll build better boardrooms, with lactation rooms, flexible schedules, and executives who understand that creating life and creating profit aren't mutually exclusive. Morrison Logistics learned that lesson too late. Chin Logistics International teaches it every day. Class is in session. My office. Bring your babies.
The 2 pink lines appeared on the pregnancy test like a sunrise, beautiful, inevitable, and life-changing. I sat on the edge of my bathtub, hands trembling, as tears of joy streamed down my face. At 27, I hadn't planned this, but sometimes the best gifts come unexpectedly. My name is Natalia, and that moment in my bathroom marked the beginning of both a dream and a nightmare. "You're what?" My mother's fork clattered against her plate, the sound echoing through our weekly family dinner. I hadn't planned to announce it so soon, but the smell of Aunt Athena's signature lasagna had turned my stomach, and my quick dash to the bathroom had raised suspicions. "I'm pregnant," I repeated, trying to keep my voice steady. "About 6 weeks along." The silence that followed was deafening. My father, Gerard, stopped mid-chew, while my cousin, Kinley's face went completely white. Aunt Athena reached across the table to grip Kinley's hand, her knuckles turning as pale as her daughter's face. "But you're not even married," my mother finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What about your art career? The gallery showing next month?" I straightened my shoulders. I can be both a mother and an artist. Plenty of women do it. "This isn't about your art," Aunt Athena cut in, her voice sharp. "Have you considered what this means for Kinley?" My confusion must have shown on my face because she continued, her words gaining momentum like a boulder rolling downhill. "Kinley and Tom have been trying for 3 years. 3 years of fertility treatments, 2 miscarriages, and here you are, accidentally pregnant, unmarried, living paycheck to paycheck with your paintings." "Athena," my father warned, but she wasn't finished. "It's perfect, actually," she said, her eyes lighting up with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "You can give the baby to Kinley. It would stay in the family, and you could focus on your career." The room started spinning. "What?" "Think about it," my mother chimed in, and my heart shattered at her betrayal. "Kinley and Tom have a beautiful home, financial stability. They're ready for a baby. You're not." "I can't believe what I'm hearing." I pushed back from the table, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "This is my baby we're talking about." Kinley spoke for the first time, her voice trembling. "Please, Natalia, you don't know what it's like, wanting something so badly and watching everyone else get it so easily." "So I should just hand over my child? Like it's a painting I can just give away?" The words tasted bitter in my mouth. "Be reasonable," Aunt Athena snapped. "This isn't about you anymore. Think about what's best for the baby." I looked at my father, silently pleading for support, but he just stared at his plate, shoulders hunched. The betrayal cut deeper. "I need some air," I managed to say, grabbing my purse and heading for the door. Behind me, I could hear chairs scraping as people stood. "Natalia, wait," my mother called. "We're just trying to help." I spun around, one hand protectively covering my still flat stomach. "Help? You want to help? Then try supporting your daughter instead of trying to give her baby away." "You're being selfish," Aunt Athena declared, standing with her hands on her hips. "This is a blessing in disguise. God works in mysterious ways, and he clearly meant for this baby to be Kinley's." The room fell silent again, but this time it was different. This silence felt like the moment before a storm breaks, when the air is charged with electricity and possibility. "The only mysterious thing here," I said, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands, "is how you can stand there and claim to love me while trying to take my child away. This baby is mine, and if any of you try to change that, I swear I'll make you regret it." I walked out, slamming the door behind me. As I got into my car, my phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Delaney. "How did it go?" I stared at the message, tears finally spilling over. How could I possibly explain that my family had just tried to claim my unborn child? That my mother had sided with them? That in the span of one dinner, everything I thought I knew about my family had been turned upside down? Another text came through. "Want me to come over?" I started the car, my hands still shaking, but my resolve growing stronger with each passing second. They thought I would just roll over and give up my baby? They had no idea what I was capable of. "Yes," I texted back, "and bring your phone. We need to record everything from now on." "They want you to what?" Delaney's voice rose so high it cracked. We sat cross-legged on my living room floor, surrounded by half-eaten containers of ice cream and tissues. "Give my baby to Kinley," I repeated, the word still feeling surreal, like it's a Christmas present or something. "That's insane." Delaney grabbed her phone and started typing furiously. "I'm texting Jack right now. He's the best family lawyer in the city, and he owes me a favor." "A lawyer? Isn't that a bit extreme?" Delaney fixed me with a stern look. "Your family just tried to claim your unborn child. Trust me, you need legal protection." My phone buzzed again. Another message from my mother. I showed it to Delaney. "Please call me. We need to discuss this rationally. Kinley hasn't stopped crying." "Block them," Delaney said firmly. "All of them. At least until you talk to Jack." The next morning, I sat in Jack Nelson's office, nervously twisting a tissue in my hands. He was younger than I expected, with the kind eyes that hardened when I mentioned my aunt's name. "Athena Stanley?" He leaned forward. "I know her well. She tried to pull something similar with my sister years ago." "What do you mean?" "Different situation, same manipulation tactics." He pulled out a legal pad. "Tell me everything that happened at that dinner, word for word, if you can remember." I recounted the conversation while Jack took notes, his frown deepening with each detail. "They've already shown their hand," he said finally. "They're going to paint you as unstable and unprepared for motherhood. We need to get ahead of this." "But they're my family," I protested weakly. "Would they really?" My phone buzzed with a text from Kinley. "Can we meet? Just us? Please?" Jack read the message over my shoulder. "Don't respond. They're trying to get you alone, probably to pressure you more. From now on, all communication goes through me." What should I do?" "Document everything. Save texts, emails, voicemails. Record conversations if you can. This state has one-party consent laws." He started writing on a fresh page. "We'll also need to establish your stability, your income, living situation, support system. They'll try to use your art career against you, so we'll show how it makes you a perfect candidate for flexible parenting." My phone buzzed again. Aunt Athena this time. "Your mother is heartbroken. How can you be so cruel? This could be God's plan." "God's plan," I scoffed, showing Jack the message. "More like Aunt Athena's plan." "This is good," Jack said, taking a photo of the message with his phone. "Keep them coming. Every manipulative text is evidence." "Evidence of what?" "Emotional coercion. If they try anything legal, we'll be ready." He handed me a business card. "I'm taking your case pro bono. The Stanleys need to learn they can't keep doing this to people." When I left Jack's office, I felt stronger, but my hands still shook as I drove home. A familiar car was parked outside my apartment. My father's. He stood when I approached, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Can we talk?" I remembered Jack's words about recording everything. I pressed the record button on my phone before answering. "Depends. Are you here to convince me to give away my baby too?" "No," he sighed. "I'm here to apologize. I should have spoken up at dinner." "But you didn't." "I know. I've always tried to keep peace in the family, but this time—" He ran a hand through his gray hair. "This time they've gone too far. Dad, they want to take my baby." "They won't," he said firmly. "I won't let them. But Natalia, you need to be prepared. Your aunt, she's not going to back down easily." "Neither am I." He smiled sadly. "No, you never have. You're just like your mother used to be before." "Before what?" But he just shook his head. "Be careful, sweetheart. And whatever happens, know that I'm on your side." As I watched him drive away, Delaney's text lit up my phone. "Jack called me. We're building your support network. Don't worry. We've got this." I placed a hand on my stomach, feeling stronger than I had since that dinner. They thought I was alone, unprepared, easy to manipulate, but they were wrong. I had people in my corner, and more importantly, I had something worth fighting for. My phone buzzed one final time, a message from an unknown number. This is Jack. First rule, start a diary, document everything. Second rule, trust no one in your family right now. Third rule, get ready for war. I took a deep breath and typed back, I'm ready. The gallery was quiet, except for the soft clicking of my heels on the hardwood floor as I hung my latest paintings. My first solo show was in 2 weeks, and I was determined to prove I could handle both my career and impending motherhood. Need help? A voice called from the doorway. I turned to see my mother standing there, looking uncertain. I kept my phone recording in my pocket as I answered. I've got it covered. She walked in anyway, her eyes moving from painting to painting. These are beautiful, honey. The colors are so alive. Why are you here, Mom? She wrung her hands together. I miss you, we all do. Maybe if we could just talk about giving away my baby? No thanks. You're not being fair, she said, her voice hardening. Kinley has been to 3 doctors this week. Her depression is getting worse. And that's my fault? I hung another painting with more force than necessary. What about my mental health? Does anyone care how I'm doing? Of course we do. That's why... She stopped abruptly, and I turned to face her. That's why what? She looked away. Nothing. Just... Athena found a wonderful adoption lawyer. He could draw up the papers. Get out! My voice shook with anger. Now! After she left, I called Jack. They're already talking to lawyers. Good, he said. Let them waste their money. How's the documentation going? I've recorded everything, like you said, but something's weird. My mom started to say something about why they're doing this, then stopped herself. Interesting. Keep digging. Family secrets have a way of coming out under pressure. That evening, I was sorting through old family photos for my documentation when I found it. A picture I'd never seen before. My mother, clearly pregnant, standing next to Aunt Athena, who was also pregnant. The date on the back made no sense. It was the year before I was born, and Kinley was already a year old in the picture. My hands trembling, I called my father. Dad, I found a photo. Mom and Aunt Athena, both pregnant, the year before I was born. How is that possible? The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought he'd hung up. Dad, I never wanted you to know, he finally said, his voice heavy. Your mother, she lost that baby. 7 months along. Athena had her baby a month later, but it didn't survive either. When your mother got pregnant with you the next year, Athena never really got over it. She always thought, well, it doesn't matter what she thought. Yes, it does, I insisted. Tell me. He sighed. She thought your mother didn't deserve another chance when she couldn't have one. She's been holding on to that bitterness for 27 years. The pieces clicked into place. And now, history's repeating itself. Kinley can't have a baby, and I'm pregnant. You didn't hear this from me, he said quietly. But yes, this isn't about what's best for your baby. This is about a decades-old grudge. I sent the recording of this conversation to Jack immediately. His response came quickly. This changes everything. Keep this quiet for now. It's our ace in the hole. The next day, Aunt Athena showed up at my gallery unannounced. We're family, she said, her voice sickly sweet. We shouldn't need lawyers. I kept my phone recording. Funny, Mom mentioned you already found one. Only to make things easier, to do what's right. Like you thought it was right to punish my mother all these years? She stiffened. What are you talking about? I know about the pregnancies, Aunt Athena, about your baby and Mom's loss, about how you've resented her ever since. The color drained from her face. Who told you? Does it matter? What matters is you're doing it again, using my baby to hurt my mother through me. You have no idea what you're talking about, she snapped, but her hands were shaking. This is about Kinley. No, it's about you. Your pain, your loss, your bitterness. But I won't let you use my child to settle your old scores. She grabbed her purse, heading for the door. You'll regret this, Natalia. When you're struggling as a single mother, when your art career falls apart, you'll wish you'd listened. Maybe, I called after her, but at least my child will know their mother fought for them. I sent the new recording to Jack with a message. Got her to show her true colors. What's next? His reply made me smile. Now we go for the knockout punch. Come to my office tomorrow. Time to file for a restraining order. The pieces were falling into place. They wanted a war, fine, but they'd forgotten one thing. I had nothing left to lose and everything to protect. The coffee shop was neutral territory, or so I thought. Kinley had texted asking to meet, promising to come alone. I agreed, partly because Jack said it could help our case, and partly because, despite everything, she was still my cousin. You look good, Kinley said, sliding into the booth across from me, her eyes fixed on my small baby bump, now visible at 12 weeks. Thanks. I kept my phone on the table, recording. You said you wanted to talk. She wrapped her hands around her untouched coffee cup. I miss you. We all do. Remember when we were kids? How we promised to be there for each other's big moments. This isn't what we meant, and you know it. I've been seeing a therapist, she continued as if I hadn't spoken. She says I need to be direct about my feelings. So here it is. I can't have children, Natalia. Ever. The last treatment failed, and my body, it just won't happen. My heart ached for her despite everything. I'm sorry, but let me finish. She reached across the table, but I pulled my hands back. You're an artist. You create beautiful things every day. But this could be the most beautiful thing you ever create. Giving us this gift, letting us raise your baby. Stop! I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. My baby isn't a gift to be given away. They're not a painting or a sculpture. They're my child. Please, her voice cracked. We have everything ready. The nursery is painted. We've bought clothes, toys. You did what? The recording forgotten. I stared at her in horror. Without even asking me? Mom said it would work out. She promised. Tears streamed down her face. She said you'd understand once you saw how prepared we are. A couple at the next table was staring now, but I didn't care. Your mother is using you, Kinley. Using your pain to settle an old score with my mom. That's not true, but doubt flickered across her face. She wouldn't. Ask her about the pregnancies, about the babies they lost before I was born. Ask her why she really wants my baby. Kinley's phone buzzed. Aunt Athena's face lit up the screen. Of course she wasn't really alone. You should answer that, I said, gathering my things. Ask her why she never told you about her lost baby. Ask her why she's really doing this. I was halfway to the door when Kinley called out, Wait! There's something you should know. I turned back. Her face had changed, hardened somehow. Mom already filed papers. She has evidence that you're unstable, that your lifestyle isn't suitable for a baby. The lawyer says we have a strong case. The betrayal stung, but I forced myself to smile. Tell Aunt Athena nice try. But next time, don't meet someone for coffee when there's a restraining order pending against your family. Her face fell. What? Check your mail. I walked out, hands shaking as I called Jack. They filed papers, I said as soon as he answered, and they're building a case against me. Good thing we got that recording, he replied calmly. Their lawyer's going to love hearing Kinley admit they're planning this behind your back. Come to my office, now. When I arrived, Delaney was already there, along with my father. What's going on? Intervention, Delaney said. Show her, Jack. He pulled out a file. Your aunt's been busy. She's contacted your gallery trying to cancel your show, called your landlord about noise complaints that never happened, even tried to access your medical records. She can't do that. No, she can't, my father said grimly. And that's not all. Tell her, Jack. The lawyer they hired? He's known for dirty tactics. We need to move fast. I've filed for emergency protective orders, but you need to be prepared. They're going to try to break you down. As if on cue, my phone lit up with a text from my mother. Please don't do this. The restraining order will tear this family apart. The family's already torn apart, I said, showing them the message. They did that. Then let's tear it down the rest of the way, Jack said, pulling out more papers. Time to go nuclear. Your aunt's past, the false reports, the harassment. We're putting it all in the open. But Kinley, I hesitated. She's as much a victim as I am. Sometimes, my father said softly, the kindest thing you can do is let the truth hurt. It's the only way to heal. I signed the papers Jack put in front of me, each signature feeling like another brick in a wall between me and my family. But as I felt my baby move for the first time, a tiny flutter like butterfly wings, I knew I was doing the right thing. They wanted to play hardball? Fine. But they were about to learn that sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous. They did what? I gripped the edge of Jack's desk, staring at the papers in front of me. The gallery had canceled my show, citing personal issues that might affect attendance. Your aunt's work, Jack confirmed, but she slipped up. The gallery owner recorded their conversation. Apparently, Athena threatened to spread rumors about drug use if they didn't cancel. My father, who had become a regular at these meetings, slammed his fist on the desk. That's it. I'm done playing nice. Dad, no, listen. He pulled out his phone. I've kept quiet about a lot of things to keep the peace, but this ends now. He dialed a number, putting it on speaker. Hello? My mother's voice filled the room. June, it's over. Either you stop this madness, or I tell everyone why you really let Athena control you all these years. There was a sharp intake of breath. You wouldn't. Try me. Our daughter is 5 months pregnant, and you're letting your sister destroy her life, just like you let her destroy yours. That's different, is it? Tell her about the money, June. Tell her what Athena's been holding over your head for 27 years. The silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Mom, the money was supposed to be yours, she finally whispered. Your grandmother left it for you, but there were medical bills after I lost the baby. Athena offered to help, but then she held it over me. Said if I ever went against her wishes, she'd tell everyone how I stole your inheritance. Jack was already taking notes. How much money are we talking about? Almost $500,000. The room spun. I grabbed the wastebasket just in time as morning sickness, apparently an all-day occurrence now, hit hard. That's blackmail, Jack said when I'd recovered, and now we have it recorded. My father helped me sit up. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have said something years ago. Why now? I asked my mother, still on speaker. Why let her do this? Because she promised to make it right. Said if you gave the baby to Kinley, she'd forgive the debt. Said it was God's way of balancing the scales. And you believed her? My father's voice cracked with disbelief. I believed she'd leave our daughter alone. Mom was crying now, but she just keeps pushing. And now with the gallery, I can't do this anymore. I choose my daughter. Jack leaned forward. Mrs. Stanley, would you be willing to put that in writing? All of it? Yes, she said firmly. And I'll testify if needed. I should have protected you, Natalia. I'm so sorry. After she hung up, Jack was practically glowing. This changes everything. Financial coercion, blackmail, interference with business. We're not just looking at restraining orders anymore. We're looking at criminal charges. My phone buzzed. Aunt Athena. You think you've won? Wait until the judge hears about your mental state, your unstable income, the men you've dated. Speaking of men, my father interrupted, reading over my shoulder, maybe we should tell everyone about Thomas. Who's Thomas? I asked. Kinley's real father. He met my shocked stare. Athena's not the only one with secrets. The timing of her pregnancy, well, let's just say Uncle Miles might be interested in a paternity test. Jack's eyes widened. Mr. Fletcher, you've been holding out on me. I kept quiet to protect Kinley. But now? He shook his head. All bets are off. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Kinley. Mom's crying. Dad's yelling. What's happening? I showed the message to Jack, who nodded. Tell her to come to my office, alone. It's time she learned the truth about everything. As I typed the response, another wave of nausea hit. Or maybe it was fear. What if this destroys them? They destroyed themselves, my father said gently. Sometimes family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about who stands with you when everyone else stands against you. Jack started organizing papers into files. The hearing's in 3 days. Once Kinley knows everything, once your mother's statement is filed, he smiled grimly. Let's just say Athena's house of cards is about to come down. I felt my baby kick. Stronger now, like they were saying, fight on, Mom. Delaney had bought me a fetal Doppler, and every night I listened to that steady heartbeat, reminding myself what I was fighting for. One more thing, Jack said as I got up to leave. The gallery owner, she wants to reschedule your show, says she's never letting anyone bully her artists again. I smiled, touching my growing bump. Tell her I'll be there, me and my baby both. My father hugged me tight. That's my girl. Now let's go show them what happens when they mess with a Fletcher. For the first time in months, I felt truly powerful. They thought they could break me, but instead, they'd only revealed their own cracks. And through those cracks, the truth was finally shining through. The conference room in Jack's office felt too small for all the tension it held. Kinley sat across from me, her face pale as she listened to the recordings one by one. My mother's confession about the money, Aunt Athena's threats to the gallery owner, the conversation about Thomas. When Jack finally stopped the playback, Kinley looked like she might faint. This can't be true, she whispered. My mother wouldn't. There's more, my father said gently, sliding a manila envelope across the table. DNA test results. I had them done last week. Kinley's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Does he know? Miles found out this morning, Jack said. He's already filed for divorce. A sob escaped her throat. All this time, she's been lying to everyone? She's been controlling everyone, I corrected, using secrets and shame to manipulate us all. The nursery, Kinley said suddenly. She's the one who insisted we set it up, said it would prove our commitment to the judge. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. I'm so sorry, Natalia. I got so caught up in what I wanted, what Mom said I deserved. You're as much a victim as anyone, I said softly. But Kinley, this has to stop, she nodded, wiping her eyes. What do you need me to do? Jack pulled out a statement he'd prepared. Sign this. Testify at tomorrow's hearing. Tell the truth about how your mother orchestrated all of this. She'll never forgive me. No, my father agreed, but you'll forgive yourself. As Kinley read through the statement, my phone buzzed. Aunt Athena. Emergency family meeting. Now, your mother has some explaining to do. I showed the message to Jack, who smiled grimly. Perfect timing. Everyone ready? We arrived at my parents' house to find Aunt Athena pacing the living room, Uncle Miles sitting stone-faced in the corner, and my mother standing by the fireplace, looking stronger than I'd seen her in years. You, Aunt Athena spat when she saw me. This is all your fault. No, my mother said firmly, it's yours, and I'm done covering for you. After everything I've done for you, the money was my daughter's inheritance that you used to blackmail me, Mom finished. Just like you used Thomas to blackmail Miles into staying quiet all these years. Uncle Miles stood up. 27 years, Athena. 27 years of lies. I did it for our family. Aunt Athena's voice rose hysterically. Everything I did was to keep us together. Together? Kinley stepped forward. You tried to steal my cousin's baby. You destroyed my father's trust. You've been lying to me my entire life. I was protecting you. No, I said, recording everything on my phone. You were controlling us, but it's over now. Aunt Athena's face contorted. You think you've won? Wait until I tell the judge about your father's gambling debts, about your mother's depression, about what? Jack stepped into the room. About how you've systematically abused and manipulated this family for decades? Please, tell the judge everything. I'm sure they'd love to hear about the blackmail, the fraud, the harassment. She lunged for my phone, but my father caught her arm. Don't, he warned. You've done enough damage. The hearing's tomorrow, Jack continued calmly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to withdraw all claims to Natalia's child. You're going to sign a statement admitting to your actions. And you're going to stay away from this family. Or what? Or I file criminal charges, my mother said, for the inheritance fraud, for the blackmail, for everything. Aunt Athena looked around the room, seeing nothing but resolved faces. Her shoulders sagged. You're all against me? After everything I've sacrificed? You sacrificed us, Kinley said quietly. All of us. And now you're losing everything because of it. The papers are ready, Jack said, placing his briefcase on the coffee table. Sign them now, or we'll see you in court tomorrow. As Aunt Athena reached for the pen, her hand trembling, I felt my baby kick again. This time it felt like applause. I hope you're happy, she said as she signed. You've destroyed this family. No, I replied, touching my growing belly. We freed it. Later, as we left the house, Kinley caught my arm. The nursery. Would you like it? All the things we bought? They should go to the baby they were meant for. I hugged her, feeling the first real step toward healing. Come shopping with me instead. Let's pick out new things together. Start fresh. She smiled through her tears. I'd like that. The war was over. Tomorrow's hearing would just make it official. But as I drove home, I realized something. Sometimes you have to break apart what's broken to build something stronger in its place. The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension. Despite Aunt Athena signing the papers yesterday, Jack insisted we follow through with the hearing. We need this on official record, he'd said. No room for backtracking. I sat between my parents, Delaney squeezing my hand on one side while my father kept his protective arm around my shoulders. At 6 months pregnant, my baby was particularly active today, as if sensing the importance of the moment. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Martinez surveyed the packed courtroom, her eyes lingering on my visible pregnancy before settling on Jack. Counsel, I understand there have been some developments. Yes, Your Honor. Jack stood, straightening his tie. We have signed statements from all parties, but given the severity of the situation, we believe it's crucial to have testimony on record. Proceed. My mother went first, her voice steady as she detailed years of financial manipulation and emotional abuse. Uncle Miles followed, confirming the DNA test results and Aunt Athena's decades of deception. Each testimony felt like another brick falling from the wall of lies that had surrounded our family. Then it was Kinley's turn. Mom told me I deserved Natalia's baby, she said, wiping tears. Said God meant for this child to be mine. She had me believe Natalia was being selfish, that taking her baby was the right thing to do. I let myself believe it because I wanted it so badly. And now? The judge asked. Now I know the truth. That my mother used my pain to hurt others. That she tried to steal my cousin's child to punish her mother for something that happened before we were born. Kinley turned to face me. I'm so sorry, Natalia. I should have protected you, not helped hurt you. When it was my turn to speak, I felt surprisingly calm. Your Honor, I'm an artist. I create things for a living. But this baby? I touched my stomach. This is my masterpiece. My aunt tried to steal that from me. She used my cousin's pain, my mother's guilt, and our family's love against us. She lies! Aunt Athena shot up from her seat. This ungrateful girl has turned my whole family against me. I was trying to help, to give this baby a proper home. Mrs. Stanley, the judge warned, sit down or I'll have you removed. You don't understand, Aunt Athena continued, her voice rising hysterically. I lost my baby, my real baby. Then I had to watch my sister have another chance while I raised another man's child. It wasn't fair. None of this is fair. The courtroom fell silent, except for Aunt Athena's ragged breathing. Mrs. Stanley, Judge Martinez said quietly, life's unfairness doesn't give you the right to destroy others. Your actions show a disturbing pattern of manipulation and abuse. She turned to me. Miss Fletcher, what do you want from this court? I stood, one hand protectively over my baby. I want my aunt to get help. Real help, not just prayers and denial. I want legal protection for my child, and I want my family to have a chance to heal. All of us, including Kinley and my aunt, if she's willing to try. The judge nodded, then spent several minutes reviewing the documents before her. Based on the evidence and testimony presented, this court orders the following. A permanent restraining order against Athena Stanley, preventing any contact with Natalia Fletcher or her child. Mandatory counseling for Mrs. Stanley before any modification of this order can be considered. And, she paused, looking directly at Aunt Athena, a criminal investigation into the financial fraud and blackmail allegations will be recommended to the district attorney's office. Aunt Athena collapsed into her chair while Uncle Miles quietly left the courtroom. Kinley moved to sit beside me, taking my free hand. Additionally, the judge continued, this court recognizes Natalia Fletcher's full and uncontested rights to her unborn child. Any further attempts to interfere with these rights will result in immediate criminal charges. Do all parties understand? The chorus of "Yes, Your Honor" was interrupted by Aunt Athena's quiet voice. I just wanted to make things right, she whispered, to fix what was broken. The only broken thing here, my mother said, standing, was what you did to this family. But we're fixing that now, without you. As we left the courthouse, Delaney hugged me tight. It's really over. Not quite, I said, watching Kinley hesitate by her car. Hey, cousin, still up for that shopping trip? Her face lit up. Really? Really, but this time we're buying aunt stuff, not mom stuff. She laughed through her tears, and for the first time in months, it felt like family again. Different, broken, but healing. My phone buzzed. A message from the gallery. Show opens next week. Theme, rebirth, ready? I looked at my family, the ones who stood by me, the ones finding their way back, even the empty spaces left by those who chose pride over love, and knew exactly what I would paint. Ready, I typed back. More than ready. It's perfect, Delaney whispered, standing beside me in the gallery. The centerpiece of my show was a massive triptych, 3 panels showing a family tree being torn apart by storms, then growing back stronger, with new branches reaching toward the light. You really put them in the painting, Kinley said, pointing to the subtle figures woven into the branches. All of us. Even her. I nodded toward the darker sections, where Aunt Athena's silhouette lingered in the shadows. She's part of the story, too. The gallery was packed for opening night. My father stood proudly by the entrance, greeting guests. My mother moved between the paintings, explaining the symbolism to interested buyers. Even Uncle Miles had come, standing quietly in the corner with a glass of wine. Sold, the gallery owner announced, placing a red dot beside the triptych. To an anonymous buyer. Anonymous? I raised an eyebrow at Jack, who was trying too hard to look innocent. What? I'm a lawyer. I appreciate good art, he grinned, especially art that tells the truth. A commotion at the entrance drew our attention. Aunt Athena stood there, looking smaller somehow, more fragile. She's violating the restraining order, Jack muttered, reaching for his phone. Wait, I said, touching his arm. Let me handle this. I approached her carefully, noting the papers clutched in her hands. You're not supposed to be here, I said quietly. I know. She held out the papers with trembling hands. But I needed you to have these. It's the trust fund paperwork, your inheritance. I've signed everything back over to you, with interest. That's not why you came. She looked at my belly, now 8 months round. No, I started therapy. Real therapy, not just church counseling. My therapist says I need to make amends, but more than that, I need to face what I did. To everyone. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Not just for what I did to you, but for what I did to Kinley, to your mother, to everyone. She wiped her eyes. I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know I'm trying to change. Kinley appeared beside me. Mom? I'll go, Aunt Athena said quickly. I just needed to deliver these papers. Stay, I found myself saying. Just stay on the other side of the room. This is a show about healing, after all. She nodded gratefully and moved to a quiet corner, while Kinley squeezed my hand in thanks. The evening continued. Art sold. Champagne flowed. Sparkling cider for me. And slowly, carefully, something shifted in the air. Uncle Miles briefly spoke with Aunt Athena. My mother showed Kinley photos of her own pregnancy with me. My father told embarrassing stories about my first art show in kindergarten. You did this, Delaney said, gesturing to the room. Not just the art. You brought them back together. Not all the way, I corrected. Some breaks can't be fully mended. But they can be reformed into something new, Jack added, appearing with another buyer. As the evening wound down, I felt the baby kick particularly hard. Someone's a critic, I joked, then gasped as another pain hit. Natalia, my mother was instantly beside me. Is it time? No, it's too early. But even as I spoke, I felt liquid running down my leg. The gallery erupted into action. Jack called my doctor. Delaney grabbed my hospital bag from the car. My father cleared a path to the exit. I'll drive, Kinley offered, then hesitated. Unless you want your mom. Both of you, I said through gritted teeth. I want both of you. As they helped me to the car, I caught a glimpse of Aunt Athena watching from the gallery window, her hand pressed against the glass. Our eyes met briefly, and I gave her a small nod. Not forgiveness, not yet, but acknowledgement. Recognition that even the darkest parts of our story led us here. Ready to be a mom? Delaney asked as another contraction hit. I looked at my support system, my fierce best friend, my protective lawyer, my reformed cousin, my strengthened parents, even my healing extended family, and smiled through the pain. I already am, I said. I became a mom the moment I decided to fight for this baby. Everything since then has just been proving it. The gallery lights dimmed behind us as we drove away, but I knew the art would remain, telling our story to anyone who looked closely enough. A story of family, of fighting for what matters, of breaking and healing and growing stronger. And now, as new pain ripped through me, it was time for the next chapter to begin.
I stared at the old vacation photo, my finger tracing the edges where I should have been. There was Ross, front and center as always, his perfect smile lighting up the frame while our parents beamed beside him. The tropical paradise backdrop felt like a mockery of my perpetual absence. My name is Tessa, and I'm the daughter who wasn't worth including in the family album. Isn't this exciting? Mom's voice pulled me back to our present family dinner. A whole week at the Grand Cayman Resort. She was practically bouncing in her seat, wine glass dangerously close to spilling. Ross and his new wife, Serena, sat across from me, both glowing with that special kind of happiness reserved for the chosen ones. The engagement ring on Serena's finger caught the light, sending little rainbow prisms dancing across the white tablecloth. The honeymoon suite has its own private pool, Serena gushed, scrolling through photos on her phone. And look at this spa package. I pushed my barely touched lasagna around my plate, stomach churning. When exactly are you all going? Next week, Dad said quietly, not quite meeting my eyes. He was always the one who seemed to notice when these things hurt me, but never enough to actually speak up. Next week? I set down my fork. But that's right before the holiday rush for my online shop. Mom, you promised to help me with the packaging. Mom waved her hand dismissively. Oh, honey, you can handle that little hobby of yours for a few days. This is a special occasion. Ross and Serena's first vacation as a married couple. And you're all going? The words came out sharper than I intended. Ross cleared his throat. Well, you see, sis, the thing is, we got this amazing family package deal, but it only covers 4 people. And since Mom and Dad are paying, we would have loved to include you, Serena jumped in, her sympathy so perfectly practiced it made my teeth hurt. But the extra person rate is just astronomical. I looked around the table, at Mom's practiced smile, Dad's guilty expression, Ross's casual superiority, and Serena's manufactured concern. The familiar weight of being the family afterthought settled onto my shoulders. Right, I said, pushing back from the table. Astronomical, unlike the designer handbag Mom bought you last week, Serena, or Ross's new golf clubs. Tessa, Mom's voice took on that warning tone she reserved for when I wasn't playing my assigned role of supportive sister. Don't be difficult. We're celebrating Ross and Serena's happiness. When aren't we? I muttered, standing up. Excuse me, I need some air. I grabbed my coat and headed for the front door, ignoring Mom's calls behind me. The cool evening air hit my face as I stepped onto the porch, and I took deep breaths to steady myself. Tess? Dad's voice came from behind me. I'm sorry, sweetie. I tried to suggest we wait until we could afford for everyone. Don't, Dad. I turned to face him. Don't pretend you fought for me. We both know you never do. His face crumpled. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time anyone in this family fought for me? I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my shop's latest orders. You know what? It's fine. I have work to do anyway. Real work, not just a little hobby like Mom says. Your mother doesn't mean... Yes, she does. I cut him off. She absolutely means it. Just like she meant it when she forgot my college graduation because Ross had a job interview, or when she gave Serena grandmother's wedding ring without even asking if I might want it someday. The door opened again, and Ross stepped out. Come on, sis, don't make this weird. It's just a vacation. I looked at my brother, my successful, favored, golden child brother, and something inside me snapped. Not in the breaking way, but in the way a rubber band snaps back, finding its shape. You're right, Ross. I smiled, and both men took an unconscious step back. It's just a vacation, and I'm just going to stay here and work on my little hobby. You all have fun. I walked to my car, ignoring their calls. As I drove away, I caught a glimpse of Mom and Serena in the dining room window, probably already planning their resort wardrobes. The family photo from my wallet fell onto the passenger seat, and I finally let myself feel the anger I'd been suppressing for years. They wanted to leave me behind? Fine. But this time, I wasn't going to sit quietly and wait for them to remember I existed. This time, I was going to make them wish they'd thought twice about excluding me. My phone buzzed with another order notification. Maybe it was time to turn my little hobby into something they couldn't ignore. The house felt emptier than usual the morning after they left. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my laptop screen while my coffee grew cold. Their vacation photos were already flooding social media. Mom, Dad, Ross, and Serena boarding their flight, all matching designer luggage and perfect smiles. My phone buzzed. It was Valeria. Tell me you're not stalking their Instagram, she said without preamble. I'm not stalking their Instagram. I switched tabs to my shop's dashboard. I'm looking at their Facebook instead. Girl, stop. Come over. I've got mimosas and a business proposition for you. An hour later, I was sitting on Valeria's couch while she paced her living room, gesturing with her champagne flute. Look at these numbers, she said, pointing to my shop's analytics. You're getting serious traffic, but your conversion rate is trash. Your products are amazing, but your website looks like it was built in 2005. Thanks for the brutal honesty, I said. But I knew she was right. My handmade jewelry and accessories had been steadily gaining attention, but I'd been too busy fulfilling orders to focus on the business side. You know what? Screw their vacation. Valeria set down her glass. Let's use this week to transform your little hobby into an empire. I laughed. An empire? Val, I work out of my spare bedroom. For now. She grabbed her laptop. But I've been doing some research. There's a pop-up shop space available downtown next week. Perfect timing for holiday shopping. And I know a guy who designs websites for major retailers. My phone pinged with an email notification. I opened it and nearly dropped my phone. Val, I whispered. Remember that influencer who wore my moonstone necklace last month? Her stylist just ordered 20 pieces for a celebrity client's winter collection. Valeria screamed and grabbed my hands. This is it. This is your moment. How fast can you make them? I don't know. I've never had an order this big. Then we need to scale up, now. She pulled up a spreadsheet. You've got savings, right? The money you were going to use for that trip to Europe? I nodded slowly. The trip I'd canceled when Ross announced his engagement, because Mom insisted I help with wedding preparations instead. Invest it. All of it. Valeria's eyes were blazing. I'll help you set up a proper production line, hire some part-time help. We can do this, Tess. My hands were shaking as I opened my banking app. You really think this could work? I know it will. She grabbed her keys. Come on, we're going shopping for supplies right now, and then we're meeting my web designer friend for dinner. The next few hours were a blur of wholesale jewelry suppliers, packaging vendors, and equipment stores. By evening, my car was packed with supplies, and my savings account was considerably lighter. At dinner, Valeria's friend turned out to be a sharp-eyed woman named Maya who took one look at my current website and actually winced. Okay, here's what we're going to do, Maya said, sketching on a napkin. Clean, minimalist design, high-res product photos, integrated social media feeds, and we need to tell your story. My story? Yeah, your brand story. What drives you? What makes your pieces special? She paused. What made you start this business? I thought about all the times I'd been overlooked, pushed aside, told to wait my turn. About channeling that hurt into creating beautiful things that made other people feel seen and special. I make pieces that help people shine, I said slowly, even when they're used to standing in someone else's shadow. Maya's eyes lit up. That's it. That's your angle. She pulled out her tablet. We can have the new site ready in 3 days, but we'll need content. Photos, videos, your journey. I can help with that, Valeria chimed in. I've got a friend who does commercial photography. My phone buzzed again. Another Instagram notification, Ross and Serena posing by their private pool, Mom commenting about her perfect children. I turned off notifications and looked at the women around me. Let's do this. All of it. That's my girl, Valeria raised her glass. To building an empire. Later that night, as I organized my new supplies in my workspace, another email came through. This one was from a business newsletter I subscribed to, announcing a local entrepreneurs meetup happening tomorrow. The featured speaker? A successful investor named Lucas Wong, known for spotting and funding promising small businesses. I looked at my newly organized workspace, thought about the website in progress, and the massive order I needed to fill. Then I opened my calendar and marked the meetup time. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. No more playing small. No more standing in shadows. Let them have their perfect vacation. I had an empire to build. The entrepreneurs' meetup was packed, and I felt severely underdressed in my casual blazer and jeans. Valeria had insisted on coming with me, claiming moral support, but really there to prevent me from chickening out. Stop fidgeting, she whispered as we found seats near the front. You look like a boss. I look like someone who makes jewelry in their spare bedroom, I muttered back. Not anymore. She pointed to my phone, where Maya had just sent the first preview of my new website. You look like someone who's about to own the game. The lights dimmed, and Lucas Wong took the stage. He was younger than I expected, dressed in a simple black sweater that probably cost more than my car. His presence commanded attention without trying. "Success isn't about having the best idea," he began. "It's about having the courage to execute that idea when everyone else says you can't." My phone buzzed. Another vacation photo from Mom. I turned it face down. "I'm looking for businesses with heart," Lucas continued. "Companies that solve real problems, that connect with real people. Today, I want to hear your stories." The next hour was a blur of pitches and presentations. Some polished, some nervous, all hoping to catch Lucas's attention. When he opened the floor for impromptu pitches, Valeria's elbow found my ribs. "Go," she hissed. "Now!" Before I could think better of it, my hand was up. Lucas nodded in my direction. Standing on shaky legs, I took a deep breath. "My name is Tessa. I create custom jewelry that helps people feel seen." The room quieted. Lucas leaned forward slightly. "Every piece tells a story," I continued, touching the moonstone pendant I was wearing. "This one? I made it after being told my creative business was just a hobby. It represents transformation, the way moonstone changes in different light, just like we all contain different facets waiting to be recognized." I pulled up my shop's analytics on my phone. Last month, one of my pieces was featured by a major influencer. Since then, my traffic has increased by 300%. Yesterday, I received my first celebrity stylist order. But more importantly, I get messages every day from customers telling me how wearing my pieces gives them confidence, helps them feel valuable. Lucas's eyes hadn't left my face. "And what's your scale-up strategy?" "I'm launching a new website next week, opening a pop-up shop for the holiday season, and establishing a production line to handle larger orders." I smiled. Because it turns out being overlooked gives you plenty of time to plan. A few people chuckled. Lucas didn't. "See me after," was all he said, before moving on to the next pitch. Later, as people were filing out, he approached our table. Up close, his intensity was almost uncomfortable. "Your story resonates," he said, sitting down. "But I need to know, are you ready to be seen? Really seen? Because once you step into the spotlight, there's no going back to being overlooked." I thought about Mom's dismissive wave, Ross's casual superiority, Serena's practiced sympathy. I've spent my whole life being ready. He nodded slowly, then pulled out a business card. "I'm hosting a private investment event next week. Come, bring your business plan and samples." He paused. "And bring that moonstone piece. It has a good story." After he left, Valeria squealed and hugged me. "This is huge. We need to prepare. Like, everything. Your pitch, your samples, your—" My phone rang. Dad's name flashed on the screen. "Hey, sweetie," he said when I answered. "Just checking in. Making sure you're okay on your own." I looked at Lucas's business card, at the website preview on my laptop, at Valeria's excited face. "I'm not on my own, Dad. I'm actually at a business meeting right now." "Oh," he sounded surprised. "For your jewelry thing?" "My company," I corrected gently. "And yes, how's the vacation?" "Good, good. Your mother wanted me to remind you to water her plants." "Of course she did." "The plants are fine, Dad. I need to go. I have another meeting to prepare for." After hanging up, Valeria squeezed my hand. "You okay?" I tucked Lucas's card into my wallet, right where that old family photo used to be. "I'm better than okay. I'm ready." "Then let's go. We've got an empire to build, remember?" As we left the venue, my phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Website's ahead of schedule. Ready to shoot your founder's video tomorrow?" I looked at Valeria, who was already pulling up her calendar. "Tomorrow works," I replied. Time to tell my story. The sun was setting as we drove home, casting long shadows across the city. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of standing in them. Because soon, very soon, I'd be casting my own. "Just be natural," Maya said from behind the camera. "Pretend you're talking to a friend." I sat in my workspace, surrounded by my jewelry pieces, feeling anything but natural. We'd been filming for 3 hours, and I still couldn't get through my brand story without stumbling. Maybe we should take a break, Valeria suggested, checking her watch. The lighting's still good for product shots. My phone buzzed. Another vacation photo. This time it was Serena in a designer sundress, caption reading, "Living my best life with my perfect family." I switched off the screen. "No," I said, straightening my shoulders. "One more try." Maya adjusted the camera. Rolling. I took a deep breath and looked directly into the lens. Everyone has a moment when they realize they're tired of being invisible. Mine came 3 days ago, when my family left for a luxury vacation without me. Again. Valeria's eyes widened behind Maya, but I kept going. I've spent years creating pieces that make people feel special, because I know what it's like to be the afterthought. Each design comes from a place of understanding what it means to want to be seen. I held up the moonstone pendant. This piece, it's about transformation, about taking the pain of being overlooked and turning it into something beautiful. Maya lowered the camera, grinning. "That's the one. That's your story." My phone rang. It was the celebrity stylist's assistant. "Ms. Tessa, we need to move up the delivery date. Is there any way you can have the pieces ready by next week?" I looked at my workbench, where half the order was still unfinished. "Next week? The shoot got rescheduled. We can offer a rush fee." Valeria was already pulling up calculators on her phone, mouthing, "Say yes." "I can make it happen," I heard myself say. "Send me the details." After hanging up, I slumped in my chair. "Val, that's impossible. I can't make 10 more pieces by next week. Not alone." Who said anything about alone? She was already typing on her phone. "Remember Maria from college? She's between jobs and used to make jewelry. And my cousin just finished her design program." Within an hour, my workspace was transformed into a mini production line. Maria and Valeria's cousin Sophie arrived, and after a crash course in my techniques, we fell into a rhythm. "This is actually therapeutic," Maria said, carefully setting stones. "Way better than my last office job." Sophie looked up from her work. "You know what would be cool? If we filmed this for your social media. Show people the process, the craftsmanship." Maya, who was still there editing the brand video, immediately grabbed her camera. The next few days blurred together. We worked late into the night, taking turns making coffee runs and sharing stories. Maya captured everything: the detailed work, the late-night laughs, the moment when we finished the last piece and all collapsed on my living room floor at 3 a.m. "Check your emails," Valeria mumbled, half asleep on my couch. I opened my laptop to find a message from Lucas Wong. "Saw your content going live. Impressive turnaround. Looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. Bring your team." My team? I looked around at the women sprawled across my living room, all of them somehow managing to look both exhausted and accomplished. "Hell yes, your team," Maria said, sitting up. "We're not missing this." The next morning, running on coffee and adrenaline, we walked into Lucas's office building. The celebrity order was safely delivered, the new website was live, and our behind-the-scenes content was gaining traction online. "Your social media engagement has tripled," Lucas said without preamble, gesturing for us to sit. "And your story about transformation? It's resonating. People are sharing their own stories of feeling invisible, finding their power." He pulled up our analytics on his screen. "You've built more than a jewelry line. You've built a community." "We've built it," I corrected, looking at my team. Lucas smiled for the first time. "That's exactly what I wanted to hear." He slid a folder across the desk. "Here's my offer: investment, mentorship, and connections. But I want to move fast. The holiday season is coming." My phone buzzed. Another vacation photo. This time, I didn't even look. "How fast?" I asked. "Launch party next week. Full media coverage. Your family's still away, right?" I nodded slowly, beginning to smile. "Perfect timing," he said. "Let's show them what they missed." Walking out of his office, Contracts signed and plans in motion. I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone buzzed again, Mom asking if I'd remembered to collect their mail. Should I respond? I asked Valeria. She linked her arm through mine. Nah, let's keep them guessing. They want a surprise? We'll give them one they'll never forget. 5 minutes until we go live, Maya called out across the transformed warehouse space. The launch party venue buzzed with last-minute preparations, staff adjusting displays, photographers setting up equipment, caterers arranging elegant appetizer trays. I stood in front of a full-length mirror, barely recognizing myself. Gone was the overlooked sister in casual clothes. Instead, I wore a sleek black dress adorned with my own creations. Multiple delicate necklaces layered perfectly, each telling its own story of transformation. Your hands are shaking, Valeria said, appearing behind me with a glass of water. Drink this. What if nobody comes? I whispered. She pointed to her phone, showing the RSVP list. Are you kidding? We're over capacity. That video of yours went viral yesterday. The one about turning pain into beauty? People are calling you the transformation jeweler. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Hope you're doing okay, sweetie. Your mother wants to know if you've been watering her orchids. Still nothing about the business posts? Valeria asked, reading over my shoulder. They probably haven't even seen them. Too busy having fun in paradise. I put my phone away. Let's do this. The doors opened and people flooded in. Fashion bloggers, local media, potential buyers, all eager to see the brand that had been creating buzz all week. Lucas worked the room like a pro, introducing me to key players in the industry. Your story resonates with people, a magazine editor told me, examining a display of moonstone pieces. Everyone knows what it feels like to be invisible sometimes. You've tapped into something powerful here. Maya's video played on loop on massive screens, showing the late nights, the craftsmanship, the transformation from spare bedroom operation to professional production. But it was the personal story that kept stopping people in their tracks. That part about being left behind, a buyer from a major department store said, wiping her eyes. When you said, sometimes the people who should see you the clearest are the ones who look right through you, I felt that in my soul. Orders poured in. The website crashed twice from traffic. Our social media followers doubled, then tripled. Each piece sold came with a card asking buyers to share their own transformation stories. Tessa, Lucas called out, waving me over to where he stood with a group of serious-looking investors. They want to discuss international distribution. My phone buzzed again. A text from Ross. Hey sis, brought you a souvenir keychain. Missing anything exciting? Before I could respond, Maria rushed over. We just got featured on 3 major fashion blogs. They're calling us the next big thing in accessible luxury. Another buzz. Mom this time. Darling, we're having such a wonderful time. Shame you couldn't be here to see Ross and Serena enjoying themselves. I looked around at my reality, the packed venue, the sold-out displays, my team celebrating our success, and finally typed back, Don't worry about me, I've been keeping busy. Tessa, Sophie called urgently, the morning show wants to interview you tomorrow. The night blurred into a whirlwind of handshakes, contracts, and congratulations. By closing time, my feet were killing me, but my heart was soaring. Final numbers are in, Valeria announced as we collapsed onto a couch after the last guest left. We made 6 months of your old revenue. In one night. Holy shit, I whispered. That's not all. She pulled up her tablet. The investment group wants to fast-track the expansion. They're talking flagship stores in major cities. My phone buzzed one last time. A group photo from their vacation. Everyone smiling on a yacht. Caption reading, Perfect family vacation with the people who matter most. Lucas, who was passing by, caught a glimpse of the photo. They still don't know? I shook my head. They get back tomorrow. He smiled that shrewd smile of his. Perfect, because guess what? That morning show interview? It's going to air right when their flight lands. You planned that, didn't you? Timing is everything in business, he shrugged. And in karma. Looking at the vacation photo one last time, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger anymore, but something calmer. Stronger. You know what? I said, standing up. Let's do something special for the morning show. I want to debut a new piece. What are you thinking? Valeria asked. I picked up a rough diamond from our display, beautiful in its natural state, waiting to be transformed. Something about finding your own light, about how sometimes being left behind just means you're free to move forward. Perfect, Maya said, already reaching for her camera. Let's get to work. As we gathered our things to leave, I took one last look around the venue. Tomorrow my family would land, expecting to find the same invisible Tessa they'd left behind. They had no idea what was coming. The morning show interview went viral before my family's plane even landed. I sat in my newly rented office space, watching the clips circulate online. Me, poised and professional, telling my story while showcasing the new Rising Light collection. Your phone's blowing up, Valeria said, scrolling through our notifications. The hashtag Sark Transformation Jeweler is trending. My hands trembled slightly as I checked the time. Their flight landed 20 minutes ago. Still radio silence? Complete. I refreshed my messages. Though Mom did send a mass text about having dinner at their house tonight to share vacation stories. The office door burst open and Maria rushed in. The department store order just doubled, and that celebrity stylist? Her client wants an exclusive line. My phone finally buzzed. A text from Dad. Saw something interesting on TV this morning. Can we talk before dinner? Not now, Dad, I muttered, typing a quick, busy, see you tonight response. The day passed in a blur of meetings and order processing. By evening, I'd changed into a simple black dress adorned with my newest pieces, including the rough diamond pendant I'd finished for the morning show. Ready? Valeria asked, pulling up to my parents' house. No, I admitted, but I'm done waiting to be ready. The familiar sound of laughter spilled out as I opened the front door. They were all gathered in the living room, tanned and relaxed from their vacation, surrounded by shopping bags and souvenirs. Tessa! Mom called out, not looking up from the photos she was showing Serena. There's your keychain on the counter. Ross picked it out specially. Thanks, I said, not moving to get it. How was the trip? Amazing, Serena gushed. The spa treatments alone were worth... She finally looked up and froze, taking in my appearance. Oh, wow, you look different. That got everyone's attention. Mom's eyes widened as she noticed my jewelry. Those are unusual pieces. They're mine, I said simply. I designed them, made them. Right, your hobby, Ross chuckled. Hey, speaking of which, did you water Mom's plants? The orchids look a little... I saw you on TV, Dad interrupted quietly. This morning. The room went silent. Mom's smile faltered. What TV? The morning show, I said, pulling out my phone to show them the clip. They wanted to interview me about my company's launch. Company? Ross laughed. Come on, sis. It's cute that you make jewelry, but we sold out our entire holiday collection in one night, I cut him off. The launch party was yesterday. Major retailers are placing orders. We're opening flagship stores in 3 cities next year. We? Mom asked faintly. My team, my investors. I met her eyes. While you were all away, I built something real. Serena was frantically scrolling through her phone. Oh my God, she whispered. She's trending. The transformation story. About being left behind. About us. About me, I corrected. About what happens when you stop waiting for people to see your value and start creating it yourself. Mom's face flushed. Tessa, if this is about the vacation... It's not about the vacation, I said, though we all knew that wasn't entirely true. It's about every time you dismissed me. Every time you called my work a hobby. Every time you chose. The doorbell rang, cutting me off. Through the front window, I could see a delivery truck. That's for me, I said, standing up. The first shipment for our department store launch. They followed me outside, watching in stunned silence as the driver unloaded box after box of professionally packaged jewelry. Each piece tells a story, I explained, opening one of the boxes to show them. About transformation. About finding your light. About turning pain into beauty. Tessa, Dad started, his voice thick. I had no idea. I know, I said softly. That was kind of the point. My phone buzzed. Lucas sending confirmation of another major order. As I replied, I caught Mom staring at the rough diamond pendant I wore. It's beautiful, she whispered. Different from anything I've seen. Like its creator, Dad said quietly. Ross stood awkwardly by the boxes, all his usual confidence gone. So, you're really doing this? Like for real? I looked at my family, really looked at them, and felt the last of my anger transform into something else. Something stronger. No, I said, signing the delivery confirmation. I've already done it. And this is just the beginning. The setting sun caught my pendant, sending fragments of light dancing across their faces. For the first time in my life, I wasn't standing in anyone's shadow. I was casting my own light. The dinner table was unnaturally quiet. Mom kept glancing between her plate and my jewelry, while Ross pushed his food around without eating. Only Serena seemed to be making an effort, chattering nervously about their vacation activities. And then we went snorkeling, which was just amazing, right, Ross? Ross? Huh? Oh, yeah. Amazing. He looked up at me. So, sis, how much are you actually making with this company? Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a notification. Lucas had shared our latest sales figures in the team chat. Valeria immediately texted, "Don't tell them the number. Let them wonder." Enough, I said simply, taking a sip of water. But surely not as much as Ross makes at his firm, Mom interjected quickly. I mean, he's a senior account manager now, and… Kennedy, Dad cut her off sharply. Stop. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Dad had never interrupted her before, especially not when she was praising Ross. I'm just saying, she continued flustered, that while Tessa's little business is impressive, we shouldn't get carried away. Little business? I pulled up the morning show clip on my phone and set it on the table. Watch it. Actually watch it this time. They huddled around the screen, faces changing as they watched the interview. The camera panned across our sold-out launch party, showcased our production facility, highlighted the major retailers who'd signed contracts. That's impossible, Ross whispered. You did all this in a week? No, I said. I built this over years. You just never bothered to notice. Serena was rapidly typing on her phone. The comments on your posts, people are calling you an inspiration, sharing their own stories about being overlooked by family. Mom's face went pale. Tessa, are you trying to embarrass us? I'm trying to succeed. There's a difference. My phone buzzed again. Maya sending a preview of tomorrow's magazine feature. The headline read, The Transformation Jeweler, How Being Left Behind Launched an Empire. An empire? Ross laughed, but it sounded hollow. Come on, you can't be serious. The doorbell rang again. This time it was a courier with a priority envelope. Sign here, Ms. Tessa, he said. Congratulations on the international deal, by the way. My wife loves your pieces. The room went dead silent as I opened the envelope. Inside was a contract for European distribution, with a number that made even my hands shake. May I? Dad asked quietly. I handed him the contract. His eyes widened as he read. Oh my God. What? Mom tried to grab the paper. How much? More than Ross's annual salary, Dad said. Much more. Ross stood up so abruptly his chair fell backward. This isn't fair. I've worked my ass off at the firm, played by all the rules. Rules. I stood too, finally letting years of quiet rage surface. You mean like having every advantage, every opportunity, every family vacation? Those rules? I earned those things. And I earned this. I gestured to the contract. The difference is, I did it while being treated like an afterthought. Like my dreams didn't matter. Like I didn't matter. That's not true, Mom protested weakly. Really? I pulled out my phone again. Should we count how many photos you posted from your vacation? How many times you called me perfect family while excluding me? Or should we talk about how you still haven't congratulated me on building a 7-figure business in under a year? Serena suddenly stood up. I need to go, she mumbled, grabbing her purse. Serena, wait, Ross called after her. No, Ross, I can't be here right now. This isn't... She looked at me, then at Mom. This isn't right. What you did to her wasn't right. The front door slammed behind her. Ross slumped back into his chair, looking lost. My phone buzzed one final time. Lucas confirming tomorrow's meeting with international investors. Your story's resonating globally, he wrote. Ready to take it worldwide? I looked at my family. Mom's shocked face, Ross's defeat, Dad's quiet pride mixed with shame. The perfect family portrait was cracking, revealing the truth beneath. I should go, I said, gathering my things. I have an early meeting tomorrow, about expanding into Europe. Tessa, Mom called as I reached the door. I don't know what to say. I touched my rough diamond pendant, feeling its strength. That's okay, Mom. For once you don't have to say anything. My work is speaking for itself. I walked out into the night, leaving them with their shattered illusions and the weight of their choices. My phone was already lighting up with tomorrow's opportunities. They wanted a perfect family story. I'd given them something better. I'd given them the truth. The morning sun streamed through the windows of my new office as I finished signing the European distribution contracts. Lucas sat across from me, a rare smile on his face. Congratulations, he said, collecting the papers. You're officially international. My phone buzzed. A text from Ross. Can we talk? Please? Family still processing? Lucas asked, noting my expression. Something like that. I showed him the text. This is the third message this week. You don't owe them anything, he reminded me. But? Sometimes the biggest power move is showing grace. He stood up. Just something to think about. After he left, I called Ross back. Coffee in 20 minutes, the shop near my office. He was already there when I arrived, looking uncomfortable in the trendy cafe filled with people working on laptops, several wearing my designs. Thanks for meeting me, he said as I sat down. I've been doing a lot of thinking. That's new, I couldn't help saying. I deserve that. He stared into his coffee. Serena left. That surprised me. What? Why? She said she couldn't be with someone who treated their sister like a second-class citizen. Said watching your story made her realize some things about me. About us. He looked up. She was right. Before I could respond, the barista approached our table. Oh my God, your hair! The transformation jeweler! She touched her necklace, one of my pieces. Your story inspired me to finally start my own business. After she left, Ross shook his head. That happens a lot, doesn't it? More every day. I watched all your interviews, he said quietly. Read all the articles, the comments. Do you know what hit me hardest? When you said you stopped waiting to be seen and decided to become impossible to ignore. My phone buzzed. Mom calling. I declined it. She's a mess, you know, Ross continued. Keeps looking at old family photos, crying about how she never noticed. And Dad? He's different. Stands up to her now. Called her out yesterday when she tried to minimize your success again. Ross smiled slightly. Said his daughter was a business genius, and it was time we all admitted it. The cafe door opened and Valeria burst in. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation. That major fashion house that wanted a collaboration? They're here early. Like now. I stood up, gathering my things. Wait, Ross grabbed my arm. I need to say this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for every time I took advantage, every time I accepted preferential treatment, every time I watched you be pushed aside and said nothing. I was wrong. Yes, you were. I know I can't fix it, but I want to try to be better. To be the brother you deserved. Valeria cleared her throat pointedly. I have to go, I said. But Ross? Thanks for saying that. Back at the office, after the fashion house meeting, another success, I found a small package on my desk. Inside was an old family photo I'd never seen before, me at about 7, showing Dad a beaded necklace I'd made. I was beaming with pride, and he was looking at me like I was magic. A note from Dad was attached. I found this while cleaning the attic. Thought you should have it. I'm sorry I forgot how to look at you this way. So proud of you, sweetheart. My phone buzzed again. Mom. This time I answered. Tessa, she said, her voice shaky. I know I don't deserve to ask this, but would you have dinner with me? Just us? I need to really listen this time. I looked at the photo on my desk, then at my office, my empire built from years of being overlooked. Okay, I said. But Mom, this time, I'm choosing the restaurant. After hanging up, I walked to our production floor where Maria and Sophie were training new staff. On the wall hung our company motto, Transform Your Story. My phone lit up with a message from Lucas. Ready for phase 2? Asia's waiting. I touched my rough diamond pendant, feeling its familiar strength. The stone that had started as something overlooked, now transformed into something impossible to ignore. Just like me. Ready, I typed back. The afternoon sun caught my jewelry displays, sending light dancing across the room. Each piece told a story of transformation, of rising above, of turning pain into power. But more than that, they told my story. The story of a woman who stopped waiting in shadows and learned to create her own light. I'd wanted revenge, but I'd found something better. I'd found myself. And that was the most powerful transformation of all.
The text message from my sister Michelle felt like a slap across the face. Since you're too selfish to help anymore, don't bother coming to Sunday dinner. Mom and Dad agree. I'm Celeste, and until 3 days ago, I was my family's personal ATM. The screen of my phone blurred as tears welled up, but I refused to let them fall. 6 years of paying for everything, from Dad's golf club membership to Jackson's temporary apartment support that somehow never ended, and this was my reward for finally saying no. You can't just cut them off cold turkey, Eliza had warned me last week over coffee. My mentor's words echoed in my head as I paced my apartment. Family dynamics like this are like addiction. They won't take kindly to losing their supply. I should have listened. Instead, I'd chosen the worst possible moment to stand my ground, right when Mum was planning her annual summer cruise. What do you mean you won't help with the cruise? Mom had demanded during our last family dinner. You always contribute. It's tradition. I can't keep doing this, I'd replied, my voice shakier than I'd intended. I've put my entire life on hold. My savings are depleted. I need to focus on my startup. Dad's fork had clattered against his plate. That ridiculous tech thing again. When are you going to grow up and get a real job? My job is real, I'd shot back. I've just been too busy bankrolling everyone else's dreams to pursue my own. The silence that followed was deafening. Michelle's eyes had narrowed, while Jackson barely looked up from his phone. Mom's lip quivered, her tell when she's about to deploy emotional warfare. After everything we've done for you, she'd whispered. This is how you repay us? I'd laughed then, a harsh, bitter sound that surprised even me. Everything you've done? Like what, exactly? Taking my bonus checks as family contributions? Guilting me into paying Jackson's rent? Or maybe you mean pushing me to take that soul-crushing corporate job instead of supporting my dreams? We only wanted what's best for you, Dad had insisted. No, I'd replied, standing up. You wanted what was best for your bank account. Now, 3 days later, the group chat was blowing up with vacation plans they somehow could still afford. Each notification felt like a tiny needle under my skin. How were they funding this without me? My phone buzzed again. Eliza this time. Coming to the investor meeting tomorrow? I texted back immediately. Wouldn't miss it. Tech Phoenix is all I have now. That's not true, she replied. You have yourself. Sometimes that's worth more than family. I walked to my home office, where my prototype sat on the desk. 6 months of work, countless sleepless nights, and every spare dollar I hadn't given to my family, all poured into this device that could revolutionize home automation. My fingers traced the smooth surface of the casing. The doorbell rang, startling me. Through the peephole, I saw Michelle, and my stomach clenched. I opened the door a crack, security chains still in place. What do you want? She held up a manila envelope. Your portion of Mom and Dad's anniversary gift. We're all contributing, remember? I thought I was uninvited from family events, I said coldly. Don't be dramatic. Just give me your share. 2,000 should cover it. The audacity struck me speechless for a moment. Are you serious? After that text you sent? Oh, grow up, she scoffed. You're acting like we're asking for a kidney. It's just money. Just money, I repeated. Like the just money I spent putting Jackson through his 3rd attempt at college? Or the just money that paid off Dad's gambling debt last year? Michelle's face hardened. We're family. We help each other. Funny how that help only flows one way. I closed the door, but not before catching her shocked expression. My phone started ringing immediately. I blocked her number, then Dad's, then Mum's. With each block, my hands shook less. Finally, I blocked Jackson too. Walking back to my office, I caught my reflection in the window. I barely recognized myself. This woman with steel in her spine and fire in her eyes. For the first time in years, I felt light, unburdened. I picked up my prototype again, running through the presentation in my head. Tomorrow, I'd stand in front of potential investors and show them something revolutionary. No family drama would hold me back. But one question nagged at me as I settled in to work. How were they affording that cruise without my money? Something didn't add up, and I had a sinking feeling I was missing a crucial piece of the puzzle. 3 weeks into my self-imposed family exile, I was actually thriving. My apartment felt different, peaceful, like I could finally breathe. No more midnight calls about emergencies that always ended with me transferring money. Your energy is completely different, Eliza remarked, as we reviewed Tech Phoenix's progress in her downtown office. You're focused, sharp. The investors noticed. I couldn't help but smile. The prototype demonstration had gone better than I'd dared hope. 3 committed investors and counting. I still can't believe it. Believe it, she said, sliding a contract across her desk. And speaking of believers, Cyrus Hill wants to meet you. My heart skipped. Cyrus Hill? The Smart Home Solutions CEO? The very same. He saw your presentation video. Says he has a proposition for you. I leaned back, suspicious. My device would basically make his current product line obsolete. Why would he want to meet? Find out, Eliza winked. Dinner tomorrow at Laurent's. I'll send you the details. Later that evening, I was deep in code reviews when my laptop pinged with a social media notification. I nearly ignored it until I saw Michelle's name tagged in a photo album. Mediterranean Dreams. My fingers moved before my brain could stop them. There they were, my entire family, lounging on a luxury cruise ship. Mom in her designer sunglasses, Dad with his expensive cigars, Jackson parasailing, and Michelle looking surprisingly comfortable for someone who'd claimed last year she could barely afford her rent. I zoomed in on the photos, my tech background kicking in. The metadata showed they were taken just days ago. The cruise line was one of the most expensive in Europe. A quick search showed cabin prices starting at $12,000 per person. How? I whispered to my empty apartment. How are they affording this? My phone rang, displaying an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something made me answer. Is this Celeste? A familiar voice asked. It's Cyrus Hill. Hope you don't mind me calling directly. I straightened instinctively. Not at all. I was just reading about our dinner tomorrow. About that, I'm actually in your building's lobby right now. Any chance you'd be up for an impromptu meeting? 10 minutes later, I was face to face with one of tech's most notorious CEOs. Cyrus Hill was younger than his photos suggested, with keen eyes that seemed to notice everything. Impressive setup, he said, gesturing to my home office. But your prototype is even more impressive. Mind if I take a look? I handed him the device, watching as he turned it over in his hands. It's going to disrupt the entire industry, he said finally, including my company. That's the plan, he smiled. Which is why I want to buy it. Name your price. It's not for sale. Everyone has a price, Celeste. Shall we start at 20 million? I almost choked. That kind of money would set me up for life. Would ensure I never had to worry about family demands again. No, I said firmly. This is my vision, my future. It's not about the money. Cyrus set the prototype down carefully. Interesting. Your sister said you might be difficult to convince. The room seemed to tilt. My sister? Michelle. She approached us last month trying to broker a deal. Said she could convince you to sell. He studied my face. I'm guessing she didn't mention this? Suddenly everything clicked. The cruise, the sudden cash flow, Michelle's comfortable lifestyle. She'd been playing both sides, probably taking finder's fees from companies interested in my work. Thank you for your offer, I said, my voice steady, despite the rage building inside me. But my answer is still no, and I'd appreciate it if you didn't discuss my business with my sister anymore. After Cyrus left, I sat in the dark, staring at the cruise photos again. All those years of guilt trips about family loyalty, and Michelle had been secretly profiting from my work. The same work our parents had dismissed as a ridiculous tech thing. My phone lit up with a text from Eliza. How'd it go with Cyrus? I typed back. He made an offer. I declined, but I found out something interesting about Michelle. Tell me tomorrow, she replied. Over drinks. Sounds like you need them. I looked at my prototype, thinking about Michelle's betrayal, about my family living it up on blood money they'd squeezed from my dreams. The hurt was there, but something else too. A cold, clear purpose. They wanted to play games, fine. But they'd forgotten one crucial detail. I wasn't just the family ATM anymore. I was a tech founder on the rise, with resources and connections of my own. Time to show them exactly what their ridiculous tech thing could do. You're telling me Michelle approached every major tech company in the valley? Eliza's martini glass froze halfway to her lips. That's not just betrayal, that's corporate espionage. We were at our usual spot, a quiet bar overlooking the city. I'd spent the last hour laying out everything I'd discovered since Cyrus's visit. 5 companies so far, I confirmed, sliding my phone across the table. Look at these emails. My old college friend Marcus, now working at a rival tech firm, had come through with the intel. Emails, meeting schedules, proposed deals, all with Michelle's name attached. She's been shopping your technology around for months, Eliza muttered, scrolling through the evidence. taking finder's fees, promising inside information. Does she even understand how illegal this is? Oh, it gets better. I pulled up the cruise ship photos. See that guy with Dad? The one in the blue shirt? Eliza squinted. Wait, isn't that Robert Torres, VP of Development at Smart Home Solutions? Michelle arranged the whole cruise, a chance meeting with potential buyers for my tech. Your own sister pimping out your intellectual property while on a luxury vacation. Eliza shook her head. That's a special kind of betrayal. My phone buzzed. A text from Jackson. Hey sis, you're being ridiculous. Call Mom and Dad. They're worried. Worried about their cash flow, maybe, I muttered, showing Eliza the message. What's your play here? She asked. We have enough evidence to take legal action. Before I could answer, a familiar voice cut through the bar's ambient noise. Celeste? Oh my God, it is you! Michelle stood there, designer handbag on one arm, perfect tan highlighting her recently returned from cruise glow. The absolute audacity of her showing up here, acting normal, made my blood boil. Funny running into you here, she said, sliding uninvited into our booth. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. You'll never believe the opportunities I've found for your little project. Eliza's eyebrows shot up at little project, but I held up a hand to stop her intervention. Really? I kept my voice neutral. Like the opportunity you discussed with Cyrus Hill. Michelle's smile flickered for just a second. Oh, you met with him? I was going to tell you about that. I've been networking, trying to help you out. Help me out? I pulled up the emails on my phone. By shopping my intellectual property to every tech company in Silicon Valley? By arranging secret meetings with executives on family cruises? The color drained from her face. How did you... No. Unlike you, I actually understand the tech industry. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I was doing you a favor, she hissed, dropping the friendly act. Do you know how much money you're leaving on the table with your stupid pride? 20 million from Cyrus alone. Money that you'd get a percentage of, right? I leaned forward. Just like the finder's fees you've been collecting? We're family, she spat. Everything I did was for the family. No, I stood up, my voice carrying enough that nearby tables turned to look. Everything you did was for yourself. You used me for years, took my money, dismissed my work. Then when you realized my little project might be worth something, you tried to sell it behind my back. Keep your voice down, she glanced around nervously. Why? Worried someone might overhear how you committed corporate espionage? How you betrayed your own sister for a cruise ship vacation? You don't understand, Michelle's voice cracked. Mom and Dad needed... Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop. I understand perfectly. You found a new way to profit off me, and it backfired. But here's what's going to happen now. You're going to tell Mom and Dad the truth about where the cruise money came from. All of it. Or what? Eliza cleared her throat. Or we take this evidence to the companies you've been stringing along. I'm sure their legal departments would be very interested. Michelle's face contorted with rage. You wouldn't dare! We're family! Family? I laughed. You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. I grabbed my coat, leaving Michelle sitting there with her perfect tan and her designer bag and her web of lies crumbling around her. 1 week, I called over my shoulder. Tell them or I will. And Michelle, stay away from my company. Outside, the cool night air helped calm my shaking hands. Eliza caught up with me at the corner. You okay? I looked up at the city lights, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. You know what? I really am. For the first time, I'm seeing them all clearly, and I'm done being their puppet. So what's next? I smiled, thinking of the prototype waiting in my office. Now, Now we build something they can't steal or sell. Something that'll make them realize exactly what they threw away. The next month passed in a blur of investor meetings, code sprints, and sleepless nights. My team had grown from just me to 15 people, each as driven as I was. The prototype was evolving into something beyond even my original vision. The neural learning capabilities are off the charts, David, my lead developer, announced during our morning stand-up. It's not just automating homes anymore. It's predicting needs before users even know they have them. I was about to respond when my office door burst open. Cyrus Hill strode in, looking decidedly less friendly than during our last meeting. "We need to talk," he said, dismissing my team with a wave. "Your sister's been feeding us false information." I couldn't help but laugh. "Finally figured that out, did you? This isn't funny. We made business decisions based on her intel." He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely distressed. "She said you were struggling, that a buyout was inevitable. And you believed her, because it was convenient." I leaned back in my chair. "How's that working out for you?" "Look," he sat down heavily. "I was wrong to approach you through her. But I'm here now, being straight with you. Your tech is revolutionary. We should be working together, not against each other." "Why?" "So you can bury my innovation to protect your existing product line." "No." He pulled out his tablet, sliding it across my desk. "So we can change the industry together. Look at this." I glanced at the screen and felt my breath catch. It was a partnership proposal, complete with development resources and distribution networks that would take years to build on my own. "Full creative control stays with you," he continued. "We provide the infrastructure. You provide the innovation. Equal partners. And Michelle? Never darkens either of our doors again." He smiled grimly. "I've already blacklisted her from every tech company I have connections with." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from Mum. "Your sister is crying. How could you ruin her relationships with her business contacts? Call me immediately." I showed the message to Cyrus, who actually snorted. "Amazing how you're the bad guy for exposing her scam." "Story of my life." I gestured to his tablet. "Give me a week to review this with my team." After he left, I called Eliza. "A partnership?" She sounded skeptical. "Can you trust him?" "Probably not. But his resources could fast-track everything we're working on." "True. But remember, you don't need him. The latest investor reports just came in. You're already exceeding all projections." She was right. Tech Phoenix was growing faster than anyone had anticipated. 3 major retailers were fighting for exclusive distribution rights. Our waitlist for beta testing had crashed the servers twice. My desk phone lit up. The front desk. "Ms. Gonzalez, your father is here." My heart stuttered. "Send him up." Dad looked older than I remembered, more worn. He stood awkwardly in my office doorway, taking in the space with wide eyes. "This is impressive," he said finally. "Very different from that garage setup you had." "Things change." I didn't offer him a seat. "What do you want?" "Your mother's worried. Michelle's devastated. Whatever business disagreement you're having." "Business disagreement?" I pulled up the emails on my monitor, turning it toward him. "She tried to sell my company's intellectual property without my knowledge. She took money from tech companies, promising them inside information. That's not a disagreement. It's fraud." He squinted at the screen, face reddening as he read. There must be some mistake. The only mistake was thinking she could get away with it, or that you'd actually take my side for once. "Don't be dramatic. We're just trying to help you succeed." "No!" I stood up, anger finally boiling over. "You're trying to profit from my success while doing everything possible to prevent it. Where was this concern when I was working 80-hour weeks to fund your lifestyle? When was the last time you actually asked about my work, instead of dismissing it? I don't exactly. You don't know, because you never cared as long as the money kept flowing. I walked to the door, holding it open. Tell Mom I'm fine. Tell Michelle her tech career is over. And Dad, don't come to my office again. After he left, I stood at my window, watching him disappear into the street below. My phone buzzed with another text from Mom, but I ignored it. Instead, I pulled up Cyrus's proposal again. Maybe it was time to show my family exactly what they'd underestimated. Not just a successful startup, but an industry-changing partnership that would make their cruise ship luxuries look like pocket change. Let them see what their ridiculous tech thing could become when they weren't holding me back. The invitation arrived on expensive cream-colored paper, my mother's flowing handwriting instantly recognizable. Annual family reunion. Because family always comes first. The nerve, Eliza said, examining the invitation in my office 2 days before the event. After everything they've done, they're playing the family card? I picked up the handwritten note that had accompanied the invitation. Listen to this. Darling, we've all made mistakes. It's time to put this unfortunate business behind us. The family needs to present a united front, especially now that your little company is getting attention. Little company? Eliza scoffed. You just signed a multi-million-dollar partnership with Cyrus Hill. Tech Phoenix is the talk of Silicon Valley. Which is exactly why they want me there. I tossed the note aside. They've realized they cut off their golden goose too soon. My phone buzzed, speaking of Cyrus. The press release goes live tomorrow morning, he said when I answered. Ready to shake up the industry? More than ready. Though my family's timing is interesting. Ah, yes, the reunion invitation Michelle mentioned. I sat up straighter. You're still in contact with her? She keeps trying. Sent me a long email about how attending this reunion could open new doors for our partnership. He chuckled. She doesn't know about tomorrow's announcement, does she? No one in my family does. I glanced at the invitation again. They're in for a surprise. After hanging up, I pulled up the latest company valuation on my laptop. The numbers still seemed surreal. We'd grown exponentially since partnering with Cyrus. Our technology was being called revolutionary, a game changer in home automation. You should go, Eliza said suddenly. What? To the reunion. Show them exactly what they threw away. She grinned wickedly. Besides, I'd pay good money to see their faces when the announcement hits the news. My brother Jackson's latest Instagram post popped up on my feed. Him posing with his new sports car. The caption read, "Family success is shared success." You know what? I closed my laptop. You're right. It's time they saw the real cost of their actions. The next morning, I stood in front of my closet, deliberating. The press release would go live at 9 a.m., right in the middle of the reunion brunch. My phone was already buzzing with preview notifications from tech blogs. Tech Phoenix and Smart Home Solutions announce revolutionary partnership. I chose a simple black dress that probably cost more than Mom's monthly shopping budget. Professional, powerful, perfect. The drive to my parents' house felt surreal. Same tree-lined street, same manicured lawns, but everything looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. Michelle's car was already in the driveway, along with several others I didn't recognize. Through the window, I could see people milling around, drinking mimosas, and pretending everything was fine. Well, well, a voice called as I walked up the path. Look who decided to grace us with her presence. Jackson stood on the porch, new Rolex glinting in the sun. Nice dress. Things must be going well at your startup. You could say that. I smiled, checking my watch. 15 minutes until the announcement. Inside, the atmosphere shifted as I entered. Conversations stuttered. Eyes darted away. Mom broke away from her gossip circle, arms outstretched. Darling, we weren't sure you'd come. Wouldn't miss it, I said, accepting her air kiss. Especially today. Michelle hovered nearby, looking uncertain. Celeste, can we talk? About the business situation? Actually, I raised my voice slightly. Let's talk about business. Isn't that what this reunion is really about? The room went quiet. Dad appeared from his study, frowning. What do you mean? Mom asked, her smile faltering. Come on. I gestured around the room. The sudden invitation? The timing? You all finally realize my little company isn't so little anymore. Now, sweetheart, Dad started. My phone buzzed. 9 a.m., right on schedule. Check your phones, I said calmly. The news should be breaking now. Confused looks turned to shocked gasps as notifications started pinging around the room. Michelle's face went pale as she read her screen. $1 billion partnership? Jackson choked on his mimosa. With Cyrus Hill? The same Cyrus Hill you tried to manipulate, I said to Michelle. Funny how things work out. Mom grabbed the nearest phone, eyes widening. But this means... It means, I cut in, that the daughter you dismissed, the sister you betrayed, and the company you ridiculed just changed the tech industry forever. I raised my glass. To family success. Isn't that what we're celebrating? The silence was deafening. Through the window, I could see reporters already gathering at the end of the driveway. Now, I smiled, shall we discuss what real family support looks like? Because I have some thoughts on that. The reunion devolved into chaos within minutes of the announcement. Mom's carefully planned brunch lay forgotten as relatives huddled around phones and tablets, whispering and shooting glances my way. $1 billion, Jackson kept muttering, refreshing his newsfeed obsessively. My sister is worth $1 billion. Michelle paced the living room, phone pressed to her ear. Robert, please pick up. I can explain everything. He won't answer, I said, sipping my mimosa. None of your tech contacts will. Funny how quickly doors close when you're exposed as a fraud. You did this on purpose, she hissed, rounding on me. You waited until the reunion to humiliate us. Humiliate you? I stood up, my voice carrying across the room. Like you humiliated me? Selling information about my company? Manipulating Cyrus? Using my work to fund your luxury lifestyle? Dad stepped between us. Girls, please, we can discuss this privately. No, I cut him off. No more private discussions. No more secrets. I addressed the room at large. You want to know what really happened? Why I stopped funding everyone's dreams? Aunt Sarah leaned forward eagerly. Uncle Pete pretended to check his phone while obviously listening. Even Jackson looked up from his endless news scrolling. For 6 years, I continued, I paid for everything. College funds, vacations, debt coverage. I put my life on hold because family comes first. But when I needed support for my company, when I asked for just a little space to build something of my own, we were trying to protect you, Mom interjected. The tech industry is so unstable. Protect me? I laughed. You cut me off completely, uninvited me from family events, let Michelle shop my intellectual property around like it was hers to sell. I was trying to help, Michelle shouted. Those connections could have made you rich. I made myself rich, I shot back. Without selling out, without betraying anyone's trust. And now you all want back in? The doorbell rang. Reporters, no doubt. Dad hurried to close the curtains. What do you want from us? He asked quietly. Money? Public apologies? I want you to understand what you threw away. I pulled up the company profile on my phone, projecting it onto the living room TV. This is Tech Phoenix. Not just home automation anymore. We're revolutionizing how people live. And I did it despite you. Not because of you. Photos flashed across the screen. Our offices, our team, our technology. Headlines praising our innovation. Market projections that made Jackson's sports car look like pocket change. The daughter you dismissed as unrealistic, she just changed the industry. The sister you tried to manipulate, she's now your competitor's partner. The family ATM you took for granted, she doesn't need your approval anymore. Mom sank into her favorite armchair, looking shell-shocked. But we're family. Family supports each other, I said softly. Family celebrates success instead of trying to profit from it. Family doesn't treat love like a transaction. More reporters arrived outside. Michelle's phone kept buzzing with messages she was too afraid to read. Jackson stared at his Rolex like it suddenly felt cheap. "Miss Gonzalez," a voice called from the doorway. My assistant Julia stood there, tablet in hand. "Sorry to interrupt, but Cyrus needs you for the virtual press conference in 20 minutes. "Thank you, Julia." I gathered my things, feeling lighter than I had in years. "Mom, Dad, thank you for the invitation. It's been illuminating." "You're leaving?" Mom's voice cracked. "But we haven't even had brunch. I have a company to run." I paused at the door. "Oh, and Michelle? Those tech contacts you're trying to reach? Don't bother. They've all signed non-disclosure agreements with Tech Phoenix now." The color drained from her face as the implications sank in. Outside, reporters surged forward, but Julia had already cleared a path to my car. Through the window, I could see my family watching. Mom crying, Dad looking lost, Michelle frozen in place, Jackson still staring at his watch. My phone buzzed with a text from Eliza. "How'd it go?" "Exactly as expected," I replied. "They finally saw me." "And?" I looked back at the house one last time, remembering all the Sunday dinners, all the guilt trips, all the manipulations. Then I thought about my team waiting at the office, about the partnership with Cyrus, about the future we were building. "And I finally saw them too," I texted back. Clearly, for the first time, as my driver pulled away, reporters jogging alongside the car, I felt no satisfaction in their shock or pain. Just relief. Relief that I'd finally broken free. Relief that I'd shown them exactly what they'd lost. The family ATM was closed. The real Celeste was just getting started. The weeks following the reunion were a whirlwind of press conferences, product launches, and damage control. My family's attempts to contact me grew increasingly desperate as the reality of their situation sank in. "Your mother's called 6 times today," Julia reported, handing me my morning coffee. "And Michelle sent another email about clearing up misunderstandings." "Delete it," I said, focusing on the presentation slides for our international launch. "Any word from Jackson?" "Actually, yes." Julia hesitated. "He's downstairs. Says he won't leave until you see him." I sighed, checking the time. 5 minutes. That's all he gets. Jackson looked different when security escorted him in, humbler, somehow. The designer clothes and flashy watch were gone, replaced by a simple button-down and jeans. "Nice office," he said, hovering by the door. "Very executive." "What do you want, Jackson?" He shifted uncomfortably. "I lost my job. The car, too. Turns out my lifestyle wasn't as sustainable as I thought without—" He trailed off. "Without my money," I finished. "That's why you're here? Another bailout?" "No!" He ran a hand through his hair. "Well, maybe. But not just that. I've been thinking about what you said at the reunion, about support and family, and I want to work for you." I actually laughed out loud. "You want to work for my ridiculous tech thing? I know I don't deserve it. I know I was awful, but I'm good with people, Celeste. I could help with sales, marketing, anything. Just give me a chance to prove I can earn my own way." Before I could respond, my office door burst open. Michelle stormed in, followed by flustered security guards. "I'm sorry, Ms. Gonzalez," one guard panted. "She just ran past us." "How dare you blacklist me from the entire industry?" Michelle's face was red with fury. "I built those relationships." "By selling information that wasn't yours to sell," I replied calmly. "Those relationships were built on fraud." "It was business. I saw an opportunity and I took it." "The opportunity to betray your sister?" Jackson interrupted. "To sell her out for finder's fees?" Michelle whirled on him. "Oh, look who's taking the moral high ground. Mister, I need another loan for my startup while blowing money at clubs." "At least I'm trying to change," Jackson shot back. "You're still trying to justify what you did." "Enough." I stood up. "Security, please remove my sister. And Jackson." I paused, studying his face. "Come back tomorrow. Entry-level position, minimum wage, no special treatment. You want to prove yourself? Start at the bottom." Michelle fought the guards as they led her out. "You can't do this. We're family." "No," I called after her. "Family doesn't exploit each other. Family doesn't sell each other out. You taught me that." After they left, I sat heavily in my chair. Julia appeared with fresh coffee and an understanding smile. "Your father's here too," she said gently. "In the lobby." "Of course he is," I rubbed my temples. "Send him up." Dad looked older than ever, his shoulders hunched under his worn jacket. "The house is being foreclosed," he said without preamble. "Your mother's devastated." "And you came to me because I was wrong." His voice cracked. "About everything. Your company, your dreams, how we treated you. I watched that press conference yesterday, saw how you handled those investors, how you explained the technology. You're incredible, Celeste. And it only took losing everything for you to see that. I deserve that." He nodded. "We all do. But your mother and we're not asking for money this time. Just, can we start over? Try to be a real family?" My phone buzzed. Cyrus, probably about the Tokyo launch. On my screens, market tickers showed Tech Phoenix stock soaring. Outside my window, the city sprawled vast and full of possibility. "You know what real family looks like, Dad? Jackson came here asking for a job, entry level, minimum wage. He's willing to work his way up. That's a start. And your mother and I thought about all the Sunday dinners, all the guilt trips, all the dismissive comments about my dreams. Then I thought about second chances, about growth, about the possibility of something better. There's a customer service position open," I said finally. "Mom's good with people, and our maintenance team needs experienced hands. Think you can handle actual work, Dad?" His eyes welled up. "You'd give us a chance? After everything?" "Not a chance at my money," I clarified. "A chance to be part of something real, to build actual relationships, not transactions. That's what family should be." He nodded, understanding finally dawning in his eyes. "When can we start?" "Tomorrow," I said, turning back to my work. "Don't be late." The autumn breeze carried the scent of coffee and fresh pastries through the open doors of Tech Phoenix's rooftop garden. Dad wiped down tables with practiced efficiency, while Mom arranged flowers for the morning's executive meeting. "Morning, Miss Gonzalez," Dad said formally, then caught himself and smiled. Morning, Celeste." 6 months of honest work had changed them both. Mum's designer clothes were replaced by practical business wear. Dad's entitled attitude transformed into quiet competence. They'd moved into a modest apartment, learned to live within their means. "The Tokyo numbers just came in," I said, showing them my tablet. "We're exceeding projections by 30%. "That's wonderful, honey." Mom's enthusiasm was genuine this time, not calculated. "I heard some customers talking about the new features yesterday. They love how intuitive everything is." Jackson burst through the door, tie slightly askew. Sorry I'm late. The sales team meeting ran over, but you won't believe the contracts we just landed. I couldn't help but smile. He'd surprised everyone, working his way up from basic data entry to leading his own sales team. Earned it too. No special treatment. Ms. Gonzalez? Julia appeared. Michelle's downstairs, again. The smile faded from Mum's face. Michelle had spent months alternating between threats and pleading, unable to accept her new reality. Send her up, I said. It's time to end this. Michelle looked expensive but tired, her perfect appearance showing cracks around the edges. She took in the scene, our parents in their work clothes, Jackson in his sales attire, me in the middle of it all. So this is what you've reduced them to, she sneered. Manual labor and customer service. Are you happy now? Actually, Dad stepped forward. We are. For the first time, we're earning our way, building something real. Real? Michelle laughed. Look at you. Dad, you used to run a company. I ran it into the ground, he corrected. Living beyond our means, taking advantage of your sister. This? He gestured around. This is honest work. This is dignity. We were wrong, Michelle, Mom added softly. About everything. About Celeste. About what family means. Oh, spare me the moral awakening. Michelle pulled out her phone. I came to show you this. My new job offer. A tech company in Singapore. They don't care about your blacklist there. I took the phone, read the offer, and handed it back. This company is one of our subsidiaries. The offer's already been rescinded. The color drained from her face. You can't just control everything. I don't want to control anything, I said quietly. I want you to understand what you did, what we all lost because of greed and manipulation. Lost? She gestured wildly. Look at what you've gained. Your precious company, your success. No, I cut her off. We lost years of real connection. We lost trust. We lost the chance to celebrate each other's genuine successes instead of trying to profit from them. Jackson stepped closer. There's a customer service position open on my team, entry level, like I started. If you want to rebuild, really rebuild, you want me to work for you? Michelle's voice rose hysterically. My younger siblings? We want you to work with us, I corrected, to earn trust back, to be family instead of opportunists. I'd rather, she started, but Mom cut her off. Think carefully, Michelle. Look where pride and greed got us. Look what we almost lost forever. She touched Michelle's arm gently. Your sister's offering a chance at redemption. Real redemption, not another scheme. Michelle's shoulders sagged, the fight finally draining out of her. Entry level? She whispered. Entry level, I confirmed. No shortcuts, no special treatment. Just honest work and slow-built trust. She nodded slowly, tears finally breaking through her perfect makeup. I'm sorry, she choked out. I'm so sorry for everything. I know. I handed her a tissue. That's step one. The morning sun broke through the clouds, illuminating our little group on the rooftop. Not a perfect family, not a fairy tale ending, but something real. Something earned. Julia, I called. Get HR to process a new hire packet, and maybe order some extra pastries for the morning meeting. Family breakfast? Jackson grinned. Team breakfast, I corrected. But I was smiling too. We've all got work to do. Michelle dabbed her eyes, straightened her shoulders, and picked up a cleaning cloth. Sometimes the biggest victories don't come from revenge or success, but from watching pride give way to humility, seeing transactions transform into real connections. Sometimes they come from building something new from the ashes of what was lost. Well, Michelle said softly, starting to wipe down a table, I guess this is step 2.
You're the only match. 4 words. That's all it took to throw a grenade into my perfectly quiet, carefully distant life. I stared at my father as he said it, like he was announcing the weather. His voice was flat, cold, the way it always was when he expected obedience. Like I was a broken vending machine he was trying to shake a soda out of. I should have walked out right then. Instead, I sat frozen in the stiff-backed chair in my aunt's living room, surrounded by people who once called me family. The air smelled like lemon-scented cleaner and fake sympathy. Rachel was curled dramatically on the couch, pale and frail in a designer hoodie, her head resting on Mara's shoulder like a tragic little angel. I hadn't seen most of them in years, not since the incident, not since Rachel's lies turned me into the family disgrace. "My name's Jasmine," I said finally, my voice dry, cracking the silence. "I didn't realize this was an ambush." Mara gave a tight smile. "It's not an ambush, sweetie. It's a family meeting." "Same thing," I muttered. Rachel looked up at me with those wide, glassy eyes. "Jazz, I didn't want it to be like this. If there was anyone else—" "But there isn't," my father cut in, his voice slicing through hers. "You're the only viable donor. The doctors confirmed it." I crossed my arms. "And you just assumed I'd say yes. You can't seriously be considering saying no," he snapped. "I didn't say no," I said, keeping my tone even. "I said you assumed." Haley, my mom, sat silently next to him, her hands folded in her lap like always. She wouldn't look at me. She never did when things got real. Rachel reached out a trembling hand. "I know we've had our differences." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "Differences? That's what we're calling it now?" Mara's eyes narrowed. "This is your chance to make things right, Jasmine." "Right?" I turned to her. "You mean after the time your daughter told everyone I was sleeping with my boss? That kind of right." "Let's not rehash the past," my father said sharply. "Of course not. The past was inconvenient. It made golden girls look tarnished and scapegoats look like survivors." I stood up. "I'll get tested. If it'll make everything right, fine." Rachel's face lit up. She actually smiled. "Thank you. I knew—" "I didn't say I was donating," I interrupted. "I said I'd get tested." My father's jaw clenched. "Don't play games, Jasmine." "Oh, I'm not," I said, turning to leave. "I'm just finally learning how to play yours." I walked out before anyone could say another word. My heart was pounding, but my face stayed calm. I'd practiced that look for years. They thought I was agreeing. They thought they'd won. They had no idea. I'd seen this moment coming for years. The message came 2 days before. A group text from Mara. "Family dinner Sunday. Important discussion. Please be there." No explanation. No subject. Just a demand wrapped in fake warmth. I almost deleted it. But something in my gut told me to go. And when I walked into that house and saw Rachel, sick, small, and still somehow smug, I knew why. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for. The moment the universe handed me the sharpest blade and said, "Cut carefully. You don't get to destroy someone and then come crawling back when you need a piece of them to survive. Not without consequences." Back at my apartment, I opened the drawer I hadn't touched in years. Inside were old journals, medical records, therapy notes, a USB drive, a printed email thread, a folded letter from my licensing board, dated 6 years ago. All of it. Everything they thought I'd buried. I sat on the floor and spread it out like a puzzle. My hands were steady. My breath was calm. They wanted me to save her, to be the good daughter, the forgiving cousin, the sacrificial lamb. I'd play the part. I'd smile. I'd nod. I'd let them think they'd broken me enough to comply. But I wasn't broken. I was just waiting. Waiting for the day the girl they called unstable, dramatic, a liar, was the only one who could save them, and chose not to. Not with a scream, not with a scene, but with silence, with truth. with receipts. Because revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes it's just surgical. Jasmine? I looked up from the clipboard I'd been filling out. A woman in a navy blazer stood in the doorway of the transplant evaluation office. She had kind eyes but a no-nonsense posture. I'm Dr. Bennett. You ready? I nodded and stood, smoothing the wrinkles out of my jeans. She led me down a quiet hallway, past a row of closed doors. The walls were a soft beige, the kind that hospitals love. Neutral, forgettable. We stepped into her office, and she gestured for me to sit. The room was warm, full of books and plants. Not what I expected. Before we begin, she said, settling into her chair, I want you to know this part of the evaluation is confidential. My job is to assess your emotional readiness, not to pressure you. I nodded again. Okay. She studied me for a moment. You seem calm. I've had practice. She smiled faintly and clicked her pen. Let's start with your medical history. Any history of mental health conditions? I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. I brought documentation. Diagnosed with acute stress disorder and anxiety 6 years ago. Therapy notes, prescription history, all in here. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. Thank you. That's thorough. I handed it over. I figured you'd ask. She flipped through it, pausing at a few pages. This started around the time of a workplace incident? Yeah. Can you tell me what happened? I leaned back in the chair. My cousin told my boss I was having an affair with him, said I was unstable, obsessive. She showed him screenshots of texts I'd sent, completely normal ones, but taken out of context. She said I was a liability. Dr. Bennett looked up. And were you? No, but it didn't matter. He believed her. HR opened an investigation. I was put on leave, then let go. My license was suspended pending a psych eval. By the time I cleared it, the damage was done. She didn't write anything for a moment. Did your cousin admit to lying? No, she said she was concerned. Played the hero. My family backed her. Dr. Bennett nodded slowly. And now she needs a kidney. Yep. She tapped her pen against the folder. How do you feel about that? I shrugged. I'm here, aren't I? That's not the same as being willing. I met her eyes. I'm willing to be evaluated, to go through the process. I'm not promising anything. She nodded again. That's fair. There was a pause. The air felt heavy. You've been carrying this a long time, haven't you? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Then I said, Yeah, I have. She closed the folder. Would you be willing to share any supporting documents? Emails, messages, anything that might help me understand the full picture? I smiled faintly. Of course. I kept everything. That night, I dug through an old hard drive. It took me an hour to find the folder, labeled Do Not Open. Inside were screenshots, emails, therapy logs. I printed them out, one by one. There was one email I stared at for a long time. From Rachel to Charlie, my boss at the time. She's obsessed with you. I'm worried. She's not well. My hands curled into fists. I slid it into the envelope and kept going. At our next session, I handed Dr. Bennett the envelope. These are the emails, I said, and a few text threads. You'll see how she twisted things. She took it without a word, flipping through the first few pages. I also included a letter from my therapist. She's retired now, but she gave me permission to share it. Dr. Bennett nodded. Thank you. This is helpful. She paused, then looked up. Can I ask why you're going through with the evaluation? I tilted my head. Wouldn't you want to know if the person who ruined your life ever paid for it? She didn't respond to that, just wrote something down. A few days later, I was walking to my car when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Hey, it's Rachel. Just wanted to say thank you again. I know this can't be easy. I really appreciate you putting the past behind us. I stared at the screen. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. Instead of replying, I opened my voice memos. There was one from years ago, buried deep in the archive. I'd forgotten I had it. Rachel's voice, laughing. She thought she was so perfect. Little Miss Therapist. I just wanted to knock her down a peg, and it worked. I sent it to Dr. Bennett. No message, just the file. A minute later, I got a reply. Received. Thank you. I sat in my car for a long time. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was ready. And Rachel? She had no idea what was coming. The first post came from Mara. So proud of my niece Jasmine for stepping up in a time of need. Family is everything. Chop, gratitude. From Ta, selfless love. Then Rachel shared a filtered selfie from her hospital bed, IV in her arm, looking like a sainted martyr. Some angels don't have wings. They have courage. Thank you, Jasmine. You're giving me hope again. I nearly dropped my phone, laughing. Within hours, my inbox flooded with messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Old classmates, neighbors, even a former co-worker who once called me emotionally unstable to my face. So brave of you. We knew you had a good heart. It takes a big person to forgive. It was like watching people clap for a play they didn't realize was a tragedy. Then came the casserole. Mom showed up at my door with it wrapped in foil, her eyes darting like she was afraid someone would see her. I thought you might not be eating well, she said, stepping inside before I could say no. You've lost weight. I took the dish and set it on the counter. You didn't come here for that. She looked down. Your father wants you to be prepared. There might be media attention. I turned around slowly. Media? She winced. Rachel's story is gaining traction. A few local outlets reached out. Alan thinks you should have a statement ready. Something simple. Gracious. I stared at her. You want me to play the hero for the same people who called me crazy? She flinched. That was a long time ago. No, it wasn't, I said. It still happens every time I walk into a room and someone whispers. She sat down at the kitchen table, folding her hands like she was praying. Jasmine, this could be your chance to start over. I leaned against the counter. Ever wonder why I didn't sue you all for believing lies without asking me once? She didn't answer. I opened the fridge, shoved the casserole in, and shut the door. I'll write a statement when Rachel writes a confession. She stood slowly. You're angry? No, I said. I'm awake. She left without another word. That night, I charged my old phone and dug through the voice memos again. I knew there was more. And there it was, one from a party years ago when Rachel was drunk and careless. Honestly, I did her a favor. She was too perfect, too smug. She needed to be knocked down. And Charlie, please. He was never into her. I just gave him an excuse. I sat there listening to it twice. Then I emailed it to Dr. Bennett. Subject, additional context, no message, just the file. Within minutes, she replied. This helps clarify things. I'll be in touch soon. I closed my laptop and stared at the ceiling. They wanted a story. I'd give them one, but it wouldn't be the one they rehearsed. The next day, I got a call from Mara. Hi, sweetie, she chirped. I just wanted to say how proud we are of you. Everyone's talking about how brave you are. Uh-huh. And Rachel's been so emotional. She keeps saying how this might bring the family back together. I didn't say anything, Mara continued. I was thinking maybe we could have a little dinner after your next hospital visit. Just us girls, like old times. I finally spoke. The last time we had dinner, you told me I was an embarrassment. She laughed like I told a joke. Oh, Jasmine, that was years ago. Water under the bridge. Some bridges don't need crossing again, I said, especially when they're still on fire. She went quiet. Then, sweet as sugar, well, we'll see you soon. Take care of yourself. Click. I stared at the phone, then opened my camera roll. I had screenshots, texts from Rachel years ago, ones where she baited me into reacting, then used my responses as proof of instability. I sent them to Dr. Bennett, along with timestamps and a short note. She knew exactly what she was doing. Later that week, I got a message from someone I hadn't expected. Deacon. We used to work together. He was one of the few who didn't treat me like a pariah during the fallout. Hey, just read about Rachel, crazy stuff. Hope you're okay. I replied, define okay. He sent back a shrug emoji. Then, if you ever want to talk, I'm around. I remember more than you think. I stared at that message for a long time. Maybe I wasn't as alone as I thought. The next time I walked into Dr. Bennett's office, she didn't smile. Jasmine, she said, closing the door behind me, I've reviewed everything you sent. I also listened to the recordings. I nodded. And? She sat across from me. This changes things. I'm going to request a family counseling session before we proceed further. Why? Because I have concerns about your emotional safety, about the pressure being placed on you. I raised an eyebrow. So I'm not the crazy one? She gave me a look. You never were. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. She leaned forward. There are inconsistencies in Rachel's narrative. I need to explore them, formally. I nodded slowly. This was it, the beginning of the unraveling, and all I had to do was keep telling the truth. Rachel showed up to the counseling session in full performance mode, hair curled, makeup flawless, a silk scarf draped around her neck like she was auditioning for a Hallmark tragedy. Hi, Jazzy, she said with a soft smile, sliding into the chair across from me. You look good. I didn't respond, just looked at Dr. Bennett, who was already scribbling something in her notepad. She cleared her throat. Thank you both for coming. This session is to explore any unresolved issues that might impact the transplant process. Honesty is important. Rachel folded her hands in her lap, all innocence. Of course. I'm just so grateful we're even here. I know we've had bumps. Bumps, I repeated. She nodded, eyes wide. But I've grown so much since then. Haven't we all? Dr. Bennett looked at me. Jasmine, is there anything you'd like to say? I leaned back in my chair. I think it's interesting how Rachel keeps using vague words like bumps and differences, like she didn't actively destroy my career. Rachel's smile didn't falter. That's not fair. What's not fair? I asked. The part where you told my boss I was unstable? Or the part where you forged emails to make it look like I was harassing him? Her voice dropped an octave. I was trying to protect you. From what? A promotion? Dr. Bennett held up a hand. Let's slow down. Rachel, can you explain what you meant by trying to protect her? Rachel blinked, caught off guard. I just thought she was in over her head. I didn't want her to get hurt. By getting a raise? I said. Or by dating someone you wanted for yourself? Rachel's eyes flashed, but she quickly masked it. That's ridiculous. Dr. Bennett scribbled again. I forgave you, you know, Rachel said suddenly, her voice soft. Even after everything, my jaw clenched. Forgave me for what? For what you said to Mom. For how you embarrassed the family. I laughed, sharp and humorless. You lied about me, ruined my job, and somehow I'm the one who embarrassed the family? Dr. Bennett looked up. Rachel, have you ever taken responsibility for what happened? Rachel gave a little shrug. We were young. People make mistakes. Mistakes? I said. You called me a stalker. Rachel turned to Dr. Bennett. This is exactly what I mean. She's still so angry. I don't think she's emotionally stable enough to make this decision. Dr. Bennett's pen stopped moving. I stared at Rachel. You just proved my point. Again. Rachel's face twisted for a second, just a flicker, before she caught herself. Dr. Bennett stood. I think we're done for today. Rachel looked startled. That's it? Dr. Bennett didn't answer her. She turned to me. Jasmine, can you stay a moment? Rachel hesitated, clearly wanting to protest, but Dr. Bennett gave her a look that shut her up. She grabbed her purse and left without saying goodbye. Once the door clicked shut, Dr. Bennett sat back down. There are inconsistencies I must report to the surgical review board, she said calmly. I raised an eyebrow. Like what? Rachel's behavior, her inability to acknowledge harm, the manipulation. It raises ethical concerns about coercion. I didn't say anything. She continued, I'm not saying this ends the process, but it changes it. Significantly. I nodded. Good. She leaned forward. You've been incredibly composed through all this, but I want you to know, you don't have to be. I looked at her. If I let myself feel everything, I'd never stop. She nodded slowly. Then let me carry some of it for you. I exhaled. For the first time in years, I felt seen. Later that night, I got a text from Rachel. Wow, you really made yourself the victim in there. Classic. Then another one. You think you're smarter than me? You're not. You're just bitter. I didn't respond. I forwarded the messages to Dr. Bennett. No caption, just proof. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen to find my dad at my table, drinking coffee from my mug. I froze. How did you get in? Your mother let me in, he said without looking up. We need to talk. I crossed my arms. About what? He set the mug down. You're sabotaging this. I raised an eyebrow. By telling the truth? You're dredging up ancient history to avoid doing the right thing. The right thing, I repeated. You mean giving up an organ to someone who tried to ruin my life? She's your family. So am I. He stood, towering over me. You've always been difficult. Always needed to be the victim. I stepped closer. And you've always needed a scapegoat. I just stopped volunteering. He clenched his jaw. You'll regret this. I smiled. No, you will. He stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I stood there, heart pounding, but steady. Dr. Bennett was right. I didn't have to be composed, but I was, because I was finally in control. The ethics board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Wednesday. By 10:17, I was medically disqualified as a donor. Dr. Bennett's report was clear. Due to the psychological trauma inflicted by the recipient, proceeding with the transplant would pose significant emotional risk to the donor. Recommendation: disqualify on ethical grounds. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just sat in the hallway outside the hospital's transplant wing, staring at the wall while the news settled like dust. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Call me. Your father is livid. I put it face down on the seat beside me. Then I stood, grabbed the manila envelope from my bag, and walked out of the building. Charlie's office hadn't changed. Same glass walls, same overpriced art on the walls, same fake warmth in the receptionist's voice when she said, He's just finishing up a call. Can I tell him who's here? Jasmine, I said, watching her expression flicker. She nodded and disappeared down the hallway. 2 minutes later, Charlie stepped out. He looked older, hair thinner, suit tighter, but still smug. Wow, he said, forcing a smile. This is a surprise. I held up the envelope. I figured it was time. He gestured toward his office. Let's talk. I walked in, sat down, and placed the envelope on his desk. What's this? He asked, already uneasy. Emails. The originals. The ones you said were real. He didn't touch it. I don't know what you're trying to... She forged them, I said. You knew. You used them anyway. He leaned back. That's a serious accusation. I have timestamps, IP logs, the voice memo of her bragging about it. Want to hear it? He swallowed. Why now? Because Rachel needs a kidney, I said, and everyone's acting like I'm the villain for not handing one over. He looked away, jaw tight. You don't understand the pressure I was under. HR was breathing down my neck. She came to me crying, said you were unstable, and you didn't think to ask me? I was protecting the company. I stood. No, you were protecting yourself. He looked up. Are you going to go public with this? I picked up the envelope and slid it back into my bag. Did I say that? He blinked. Then what do you want? I want you to remember this moment, I said, when you realize the lies you used to climb are the same ones that could pull you down. I walked out without waiting for a response. That night, I met Deacon at a little coffee shop near my apartment. He was already at a table, nursing a tea. Hey, he said, standing when he saw me. You look intense. Long week, I said, sitting across from him. He leaned forward. I've been thinking about what you said, about Rachel. I nodded. She dragged you into it too, didn't she? He sighed. She asked me to lie, said if I backed her up, it would help the family. I told her no. She stopped talking to me after that. Why didn't you say anything? I was scared, he admitted, and honestly, I thought no one would believe me. I looked at him. Would you be willing to say it now? On paper? He hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I owe you that. I pulled out my phone, and her employer might want to hear it too. His eyes widened. You're not playing around. No, I said, not anymore. The next day, I got the official letter from the hospital. Donor disqualified due to psychological risk stemming from unresolved family trauma. Alternative donors must be pursued. I read it twice, then forwarded it to Mara, Rachel, and my father. No message, just the facts. Within 5 minutes, my phone rang. It was Mara. You selfish little... I hung up. Then another call. Dad. Ignored. Then a text from Rachel. You think you've won? You're sick? You've always been sick. I stared at it, then typed, no. I'm just finally healed enough to say no. I didn't hit send. I deleted it. She didn't deserve a response. Later that afternoon, Deacon emailed me a signed statement. He'd CC'd the hospital and Rachel's employer. I read it 3 times. In 2018, Rachel approached me and asked me to corroborate a false narrative about Jasmine involving inappropriate workplace behavior. I declined. I now realize my silence contributed to the harm caused. I replied with 2 words, thank you. Then I sat back and let the dominoes fall. By the end of the week, Rachel's employer launched an internal ethics review. The transplant board closed her file and advised her to seek alternative donors. And me? I sat in my apartment, sipping tea, watching the sunset for the first time in years, without feeling like I was drowning. They wanted a kidney. I gave them consequences. Charlie called me the next morning. I let it ring. Then he emailed, please, can we talk? I'm not trying to make excuses. I just need to explain. I waited a full day before responding. Tomorrow, noon, same office. He was already pacing when I walked in. The blinds were drawn. His tie was loose. There were 2 coffees on the table. He'd guessed my order right. I didn't touch it. Jasmine, he said, voice low, thank you for coming. I sat down across from him. You have 10 minutes. He ran a hand through his hair. I panicked. Back then, HR was threatening to open a lawsuit. Rachel came to me with those emails, and I didn't question them. I should have. I know that now. You didn't just believe her, I said. You used it. You let them push me out. I was up for promotion, he admitted. They said if I handled it quietly, I'd get it. I was stupid and selfish. I leaned forward. And now? He sighed. Now I'm terrified you'll go public. That I'll lose everything. I stared at him. Did I say I would? No, he said quickly. But you could, and you'd be right to. I stood up. I didn't come here to threaten you. I came to remind you that people like me don't forget. He looked up at me. So what now? I picked up the coffee he'd bought me, took a sip, and set it down. Now, you live with it. Later that day, I met Deacon at the park. It was cold, but the sun was out, and the walking path was quiet. You okay? He asked, falling into step beside me. Better than I've been in years, I said. You? He gave a half smile, still waiting for the fallout. She'll spin it, I said. She always does. Not this time, he said. I sent her boss a copy of my statement and the audio clip. There's not much to spin. I looked at him. That was brave, he shrugged. It was overdue. We walked in silence for a while. Then he said, I always wondered why you didn't fight back harder back then. I did, I said, just not in ways anyone could see. He nodded. You were always smart, scary smart. I smiled. That's what got me in trouble. He stopped walking. You think you'll ever forgive them? I looked out at the frozen pond. Forgiveness isn't the goal. Peace is. He didn't push, just walked beside me. No one had done that in a long time. That evening, I got the official notice. The hospital had closed Rachel's transplant file. She was no longer eligible to receive a kidney from me or from anyone until further review. I forwarded the email to my mother. No message. She replied with a single line, I'm sorry, I should have believed you. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put my phone down and turned off the lights. The next morning, I woke up to a news alert. Local PR executive suspended pending internal investigation. There was no name in the headline, but the photo told the story. Rachel, walking briskly out of her office building, sunglasses on, lips pressed tight. I scrolled through the article. Or allegations of workplace manipulation and ethical misconduct. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel pity. I just felt done. Later that afternoon, I got a call from Mara. You've destroyed her, she said, voice shaking. No, I said. She did that herself. She's sick, Jasmine. She could die. She was sick before her kidneys failed, I said. You just didn't want to see it. Mara's voice cracked. You're a traitor to your own bloodline. I laughed. You made your golden child out of garbage and torched what was real in me. She hung up. I didn't call back. That night, Deacon and I sat on my couch, watching a documentary neither of us were really paying attention to. You ever think about leaving? He asked. All the time, I said. But I'm not running anymore. He nodded. Good. We sat in silence for a while. Then he said, You know, I used to think revenge was about getting even. And now? Now I think it's about getting free. I looked at him. Maybe it's both. He smiled. Maybe. Outside, the city lights blinked like distant stars. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was on fire. I felt clean, unburdened, whole. The voicemail from Mara came in just after noon. You are a disgrace. Rachel's in the hospital again. Her numbers are worse. You could have saved her. You chose not to. You'll have to live with that. I deleted it without listening to the end. At 3:15, I pulled into the hospital parking lot for what was supposed to be the final transplant coordination meeting. Not for me, just a formality for the family, the doctors, and Rachel. I wasn't required to attend, but I did. I wanted to see it unravel with my own eyes. The conference room was already full when I walked in. Rachel sat at the head of the table, pale and furious, her arms crossed tight. Mara was beside her, whispering something into her ear. My father stood near the window, jaw clenched, refusing to look at me. Mom sat alone in the corner, clutching her purse like it was an anchor. The transplant surgeon walked in last, flipping through a folder. "Thank you all for coming," he said, settling into his chair. "We've completed the final review regarding the donor eligibility." Rachel perked up. "So when can we schedule the surgery?" The surgeon didn't smile. "There won't be a surgery." Silence. He continued, calm and clinical. "The donor, Jasmine, has been disqualified based on psychological evaluations and documentation of long-term emotional trauma directly connected to the recipient." Rachel's mouth fell open. "What?" Mara leaned forward. "I'm sorry, what trauma?" The surgeon looked at her, then back at Rachel. "There is documented evidence of emotional manipulation, workplace sabotage, and psychological harm. The ethics board ruled that proceeding would endanger the donor's mental health." Rachel stood up. "That's ridiculous. She's lying. She's been trying to ruin me for years." The surgeon didn't flinch. "We have recordings, emails, and third-party witness statements. This decision is final." Rachel turned to me, eyes wild. "You did this. You planned this." I stayed seated. "I told the truth. That's all." "You manipulated the doctor." "No," Dr. Bennett said, stepping into the room. "I evaluated the facts. You gave me plenty." Rachel's voice rose. "This is a setup. She's always been jealous of me." Security appeared at the door before she could finish. The surgeon gestured toward them. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave, Rachel." "You can't do this," she shrieked. "She's sick. She's the one who's sick." The guard stepped forward. Rachel backed away, still shouting. "You'll regret this, Jasmine. You'll regret it." They escorted her out. The door slammed behind them. Mara stood slowly. "You've killed her." I looked her dead in the eye. "No, you did that the day you taught her she could do whatever she wanted and never face consequences." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Dad walked past me without a word. Mom lingered. "Jasmine." I looked at her. "I'm sorry," she said, voice barely above a whisper. I nodded once. "I know." She left. I sat alone in the room with Dr. Bennett. She looked at me. "You okay?" I exhaled. "Yeah." Outside the hospital, the press had already gathered. Microphones, cameras, flashbulbs. Rachel's suspension had gone public. So had the transplant rejection. Someone from the ethics board must have leaked the report. I walked past them without stopping. One reporter shouted my name. Another asked if I had a comment. I kept walking. No sunglasses, no scarf, no shame. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost. I felt real. And finally, free. The phone rang twice before I picked up. "Hey," Mom said, voice soft. "I made lemon bars. Thought I'd drop some off." I glanced at the clock. "You don't have to bring anything." "I want to," she said. "Just for you, no casseroles, no messages." I paused. "Okay, I'll buzz you in." When she arrived, she looked smaller. Not physically, just quieter. She handed me the tin and stepped inside like she wasn't sure she was allowed. "They're still warm," she said, setting them on the counter. I opened the lid. "You remembered I like them without powdered sugar." She smiled faintly. "I remember more than you think." We stood there in silence for a moment. "How's Rachel?" I asked. She blinked. "Still in the hospital. They're looking for another donor. No luck yet." I nodded. "And Dad?" She hesitated. "He's not speaking to me." I raised an eyebrow. "I defended you," she said, "in front of him. For the first time." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, "Thank you." She looked around my apartment like she was seeing it for the first time. "It's nice here. Peaceful." "It is." She picked up a photo from the shelf, me and Deacon, laughing on a park bench. "You look happy." "I'm getting there." She put the photo down. I think I believed her because it was easier than believing I'd failed you. I met her eyes. "You didn't fail me. You just didn't fight for me. She nodded slowly. I'm trying now. I walked her to the door. She paused before leaving. I'm proud of you, Jasmine. I really am. I didn't say anything, but I didn't close the door behind her right away either. Later that night, Deacon and I sat on my balcony, wrapped in blankets, sipping tea. You see the news? He asked. I nodded. Rachel's employer let her go. He sipped his tea. She's still not taking responsibility, is she? Never will. He looked out at the street below. You think she'll get a donor? Maybe, maybe not. He turned to me. Would it matter to you if she did? I thought about it. No, not anymore. He nodded, then pulled something from his coat pocket. A folded piece of paper. What's that? He handed it to me. I wrote a letter to HR. Back then, I never sent it. I unfolded it. It was short, honest, regretful. I didn't know how to help you, he said, but I wanted to. You're helping now, he smiled. You ever think about going back to therapy work? I looked out at the city lights. Maybe. I don't know if I want to fix other people yet. I'm still working on myself. He nudged my shoulder. You're doing pretty damn well. I laughed. Don't jinx it. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that didn't need to be filled. The next morning, I opened my inbox and found a message from a former client, someone I'd helped years ago before everything fell apart. I don't know if you still check this, but I just wanted to say thank you. You helped me more than you knew. I hope you're okay. I stared at it for a long time. Then I hit reply. I'm okay, and thank you. That means more than you know. I closed the laptop and looked around my apartment. The plants were alive. The dishes were done. The air felt light. My phone buzzed, a text from Deacon. Walk later? I replied. Yeah, quiet sounds good. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The world hadn't changed, but I had. They asked for a kidney. I gave them consequences instead.